Morning, everybody. Actually, let's go to this one first. Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing today? How has your week been? It's frickin' Friday. I hope everybody had a fantastic week. I had a pretty good week. So, yeah, finally a day off that I have to just chill to myself. Don't have to do any running around. Don't have to do anything. Well, I did do stuff already this morning. I mowed the lawn and took care of a couple of things around the house, but you know, gotta do the chores, otherwise everything gets out of hand. Can't skip doing the lawn. You know, especially if you live with an HOA. Good lord, we get little tickets in the mail if we don't keep our lawn up, don't take up the trash cans, in a timely fashion. We put them out too early. Our Christmas lights stay up too long. I freaking hate HOAs, man. I hate them. And the thing that sucks about where I live is that a lot of neighborhoods are HOA neighborhoods, and it's odd because where I came from, like, there was only HOAs in places like condos and like townhomes and things like that. None of the neighborhoods had HOA. So like you go to a subdivision where I'm from up north, and there's no subdivision, or like there's no HOA in the subdivisions. Nobody telling you what to do and how to do it. You could obviously run the risk of, violating a city ordinance, but most of the time if you are violating a city ordinance, somebody has called it in on you. So, one of those nosy neighbors, but it is what it is. You have to take the good with the bad. But this HOA really isn't that bad, and they kind of understand. Like, so my front yard kind of got out of hand, but between working and it rained, and I'm not kidding, guys, it rained every day for 3.5 weeks, every day, 6+ hours a day, every day, 3.5 weeks. So, I did go out and trim it at one point in that 3.5 weeks, but it had been like a week and a half. Adam, what's up, man? But yeah, it got a little out of hand, and so yeah, I had to mow the lawn today. So before we get into it, there's I'm covering Star Citizen more from the outside looking in these days than I am from the inside playing it and tracking all the patches and reading all the patch notes and the update notes and the roadmap, although they haven't updated the roadmap in quite some time the last I looked. And all of that stuff. I've taken a step back. I watch some streams here and there. I watch some update videos here and there, but not like I was. And it's been nice. But there's something I want to talk about before we go any further with Star Citizen. There's a couple of points I want to hit. Number one, this part that I'm going to talk about is not a large portion of the community, but it is a small portion of the community. Right? Sky Citizen. Here's the thing. This small portion of the community, you're fucking mental. Stop doxing people. Like, it's out of control, and it's happened to a few people in the last week that have been doxed. What is wrong with you? Seriously, what is wrong with you? Like, I really want to know what the fuck is wrong with you guys. Like, somebody says some mean things about the game you like, or ganked you, or murder hoboed you, or whatever you want to call it, or has different opinions than you, and you're doxing them. That's messed up, man. That's really, really, really messed up. On top of that, anybody that streams this game, you have, in my opinion, an obligation. You don't have an obligation to society or humanity or anything like that, but you have an obligation. And that obligation is stop being a fucking pussy. Stop being a fucking pussy. Just because somebody shoots at you doesn't mean that you're entitled. I'm not going to go into who doxed who, because when people get doxed and that information is out there, I don't want to name the person that was doxed, because then it's easy to find that information on the person that was doxed. So I'm going to leave it at that. But it's happened to a couple people in the last week, and it's disgusting. Back to the streamer stuff. If you are streaming, like I said, you have an obligation to stop being a pussy. Don't be a little bitch. Because somebody shoots at you, that doesn't mean go running and report it. That doesn't mean that you were streaming and somebody somehow stream sniped you, which isn't always the case. Sometimes, hey, Stream Elements, and by the way, welcome, Comanche. Just because you got shot down while you were streaming does not automatically mean that you were stream sniped. Stop reporting people for stream sniping. And CIG, shame on you for jumping in and giving people 14-day temporary bans for stream sniping when you didn't even review what the hell happened. Like, shame on you. Shame on you. And I don't remember the names of the creators, and I don't remember the names of the people that it happened to most recently, but it happened about a week ago. And what happened was somebody was streaming. They had 3 or 4 or 5 guys in their C2. 2 or 3 of them had crime stat 3s, and a group of guys picked up those bounties. Thank God they recorded. They picked up those bounties. They followed the God marker and shot the player down. And was that you? And fuck, man, stop being a bitch. Like, you got shot down. Oh well, sorry. Damn. You know, and people that are coming here and being like, oh, you know, streamers are reporting people for stream sniping. It's against TOS. You know, I really don't give a shit about the TOS. I've been stream sniped. I've been stream sniped to get at me. I've been stream sniped to get at other players. I've been stream sniped to get at other content creators. And dude, go fuck yourselves. It's not about you being stream sniped. It's about you protecting your stream. If you want to stream, you want to stream this game in particular, here's a couple of things to remember. 1, this is a niche game. 2, everybody knows everybody. 3, finding you on Twitch or on YouTube is not hard. It's not hard. All I have to do is punch up starcitizenlove on either Twitch or YouTube, and there's only 50, 60 people at a time streaming. And if I want to stream snipe them, it's that easy. It is really that easy. Now, you as a streamer, if you don't want to get stream sniped, you're not good enough to PvP back, you're not up to PvPing because you don't want to get shot at, then you need to take precautions on your stream to protect yourself from being stream sniped. I'm getting so sick of this shit. You are publicly broadcasting where you're at, who you're with, what you're doing, where you're going. It's your fault. Yeah, it's kind of dirty that somebody stream sniped you. It is. It is. I will agree with that. I don't stream snipe people. I think it's pretty dirty. I'm going to find somebody organically and fight them that way, but I'm not going to stream snipe people. But once again, that being said, when I was being constantly stream sniped, I had ways to protect myself. I would put up little things to block where I was on the map. I would mute my mic, mute Discord, so people couldn't hear what I was going. Thanks, Jay, and welcome. I really don't understand. I don't understand the where we're at mentally in this game. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. Oh, I'm a streamer, bro. You can't shoot at me. I'm gonna report you. Like it's so stupid. And then, like I said, the doxing, that needs to stop. And lastly, my last little thing. What's up, Blaze, aka Mr. E? The last thing I'll say is, if you're a content creator or a streamer, you know, we've talked about stream sniping, we talked about reporting people, we talked about doxing people. None of that is good. And lastly, what's up, Roy? Lastly, do not try to brigade somebody or gaslight them or flame somebody. What's up, Mason? What's up? And yes, Comanche, I did see it. Do not brigade people. Do not flame them. Do not encourage your community to go and chat or post comments in retaliation to something. So yeah, we're talking about that, Grizz. We're talking about, so for those of you that are late, we talked about doxing. It's happened to a couple of players here in the last week. I don't agree with it. I think it's absolutely fucked up that people do that. I think it's a pussy move, and it's generally because one of two or three reasons. One, they didn't like something that you said on the internet about Star Citizen, their precious game. Or two, they got ganked in the verse. And three, they're just a pussy with some severe mental issues. Doxing people is not cool. It's not cool. Brigading or flaming or gaslighting or something, whatever you call it, if you're a content creator and you're asking people to go and comment other people to light them up, that's not cool either. And I do believe that's against almost every platform's TOS. And then lastly, being a streamer does not grant you special privileges. Do not act like you are CIG's little pet. You are not. This banning because you're streaming and you report them needs to end. So shame on CIG and shame on the streamers that do it. If you're broadcasting your position in a niche game with not many people that actually stream it at any given time, don't go crying and bitching to CIG. Take precautions to protect your stream. It's not hard. It really is not hard. It's you can put a delay on, you can cover up parts of your screen when you're doing something, you can mute your mic, you can mute your Discord. There's a lot of different things that you can do to protect your stream. So stop acting like a bitch. Stop acting like a bitch. Like, I don't understand this. This is so here's the thing, man. It's probably the generation that's like maybe 10 years older than me. This is what happens when you give participation trophies to people that lose at sports and other competitions. The whole point of losing or failing in life is so that you understand what you did wrong or did right and move on from it. Like that is the whole point of losing. That is the whole point of failing at something in your life. It is to learn the lesson, pick yourself back up, learn from your mistakes, and do it better next time. We're all not perfect. None of us are perfect. You know, you lose or you fail, there's a lesson to be learned there. Always. And if you're not learning lessons, well, then you're not learning. So, you know, go figure yourself out, because like that needs to stop. Like I will not allow my children to take part in participation based trophy stuff, because I want them to understand that there is winning, there is losing, there is failing, and you have to learn. My chat wasn't up, by the way. So if Rakumo or anybody on Twitch, you know, but anyways, yeah, it's crazy out there in the Star Citizen land. Oh, and Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. So anyways, welcome guys. Welcome to Friday. I hope you guys have had a great week. I have had a great week. I'm finally off for a couple of days. Mowed the lawn already. You know, it's been a good one. It's been a good one. So real quick, I've been working on a video that's not Star Citizen, and I'd figure it's gonna come out either tomorrow or without failure, success is worthless. Exactly. Exactly, Grizz. Exactly. Like, that is the whole point of failure. It's to make you feel more accomplished once you have done the thing that you set out to do. And, you know, none of the people that make tons of money or are superstars or sports stars or musicians or whatever, a lot of them, most of them did not get there without failing a few times along the way. You know, look at like Steven Spielberg or George Lucas, for example. They failed many times. Rakumo, who paid me to not make a non-Star Citizen video? Well, me, I guess. I don't know. I paid for it in my own time. No, I don't have a clever or catchy comeback for that. So we'll do a little preview of my video. It's only like a minute long. Consider it like a bonus for the channel or for the stream today. But it will be out either tomorrow or Sunday. So here we go. This is just a test. I hope you guys, wait, no, go back. I hope you guys enjoy it. I had fun making it. Also heavily demonetized. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Nobody now give you no break. Police now give you no break. Not no soldier man I give you no break. Not even your eyes now give you no break. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Live on location with the virtual men and women of law enforcement. Viewer discretion is advised.
There's a lot of good moments that will be in the rest of the video. So that's kind of like the intro, and then I'll kind of be adding some gameplay and stuff, you know. Yeah, it was for flawless. Yeah, oh man. And what's crazy is, I don't know how long ago some of you guys have played this, but they did an update at some point, because I didn't play for like 3 months, and I played again, and a lot of my missions are unresolved, and I got to go back and replay them, and they made them a lot harder. Like, now the AI will like hold people at gunpoint, you know, gun to their head, and be behind them and stuff. It's crazy. And some of them are super tough now. Super tough. So yeah. Oh, here's another thing I want to talk about with Star Citizen. Okay, there's a large majority of us, myself included, that do not think that 4.0 is going to make it out this year. There's a few people that seem to think it's going to come out pre-CitizenCon or shortly after CitizenCon, and we're going to get 4.0. So I want to run down a list real quick, and it's not a full list, and it's not in any order, but I want to run down a list of things. Yes, I did get the DLC. I have not played it yet, but yes, I did get the DLC. Here's a quick list that I want to go through when it comes to 4.0 and the features that they're talking about. So 1, you got engineering. You got, well, let's start with the most important 2. Server meshing, pyro, fire, right? engineering, right? Space sim, star sim, quanta, whatever they're calling it. Base building, light, or the first iteration of it. There's so many things in there, and so much more, right? They keep going on and on and on and on about how much we're going to be getting in 4.0. So I want you guys to actually sit back and think about this for a second. Whatever you think is going to be in 4.0, right? The HUD stuff, yeah, correct. Whatever you see or hear that is supposed to be in 4.0, whether it comes out this year, next year, it doesn't matter. I want you to take all of that stuff, take 75% of it out, and that will be 4.0. That's 4.0. So whatever you think it is, take it all out, leave like 2, 3, 4 things in there, and that's it. That is all we're getting for 4.0. Do not think that this is going to be some sort of magical patch where everything just comes together and we're going to get quanta and we're going to get engineering and we're going to get space fires and we're going to get base building light and we're going to get this and we're going to get that. We're more than likely going to get server meshing and pyro, right? And that's it. And I will go out on a limb here to say that we will more than likely have another 318 on our hands when server meshing goes online. I'm not saying this to belittle CIG. I'm not saying this to be a naysayer or anything like that. What's up, TJ? I would expect that server meshing, once it comes online, 4.0 has been the long-awaited patch for 6 years. If it comes online this year, next year, or the year after, I would expect it to be an absolute dumpster fire for 3 to 6 months until they get it fixed and working. So don't think that day 1, 0 hour of the patch, you're going to jump on and server meshing is going to change everything fundamentally, and you're no lag and no desync, and people are going to log in and not get what was that privilege authorization request or whatever. Do not think that that's going to happen. Like it's going to be bad. So just steel yourselves for that, because it's going to happen and it's not going to be fun. So have fun with that. I'm going to try to remain neutral, and I'm probably not going to try to jump on day 1 of the patch, or even week 1, or even maybe even month 1. We'll see. And some of the one more thing about 4.0 before I move in, at least my opinions on it. I have 2 major concerns with 4.0 and server meshing. 1, server meshing, we haven't had a playtest since what? March? Early April? Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. It's been March or early April since we had a playtest, and that last playtest was, I think, 250 or 300. The one before that, where it went over 400, that's when you could see the cracks in the server meshing, and some people would have a really good time with it, while most had a really bad time with it. So they haven't done a playtest in a while. I really want to know where they're at with server meshing before I even have much more to say on it, as far as the technicalities of it working and how it's going to work and all of that. So, yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about. 2, so 3.24, well, let's rewind. About a year and a half ago, me, Marcus Canop, and I believe Pagan, we were all playing the game and discussing the game live on, I think, Marcus's stream. And we started talking about server meshing and how we're supposed to have 1,000 players in a system, and et cetera, 10,000, whatever Christ Robert said. And it was either myself or Marcus brought up you know, how is this going to work? None of the space stations or landing areas on planets are to scale to handle thousands of players, let alone hundreds of players, right? So we kind of let it go for that for now. And then 3.24 came around and everybody gets an instanced hangar, no matter what space station or landing area you go to, everybody gets the instanced hangar. But then you have to wait for in a line or a queue before you can get from outside to inside the space station or landing area and outside or inside to outside. And some of these lines can last up to 10 minutes. So my question is when server meshing hits and we have thousands of players or tens of thousands of players, there are going to be popular areas that people are going to want to trade, buy, sell, do social interactions, or just meet up spots. How long are these lines going to be? 10,000 creepers will blot out the sun. So how long is this line going to be? And then, yes, then you're going to have fellas that are going to grief by ganking outside of these areas. And it's not going to be fun for them, for the people that want to fight. And I'm not talking about the gankers and the griefers only. There are people that do like to fight in the game. You know, they'll have fun. But a majority of the Star Citizen community, man, you fart in their general direction, they're going to report you. So, yeah. You don't want live band service game. Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. We're going to, we're going to do a variety of things. There's going to be some Star Citizen. There's going to be some Dune. There's going to be some World War II history. There's going to be some Star Wars lore. There's going to be a variety of things. I just got to shut up and let some videos play for a little bit, right? So, yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into it, I guess. Let's get into it, I guess. So this is the newest ISC from CIG and Star Citizen. I'm starting to look at Jared like a kind of like a used car salesman. The last month it's been 4.0, 4.0, 4.0, and it keeps on being the long-awaited 4.0, the upcoming 4.0, and Kamerl pointed out the other day that this is literally like the 1,000th time they've said it. So, you know, I don't know what to believe. I really don't. So, Star Citizen and Jared, take it away.
There's a lot you can say about the upcoming pyro system. It's dangerous, obviously. It's lawless, certainly. But it's not all just chaos and carnage completely. It's also people just trying to make their living where they can in a place that's challenging and pretty different from the adjacent Stanton system. From repairing your neighbor's generator to supporting the nearby farmers, there's much you can do to be a social and upstanding citizen for Pyro's prosperity.
Wait. Farmers in Pyro? How the hell is there supposed to be farmers in Pyro? Does anybody have an idea how this works? How is there supposed to be farming in Pyro? Okay. I guess I'll wait for them to explain it to me. The fresh divorce haircut. Work in progress, always work in progress.
So the planets of Pyro are different from the Stanton in the fact that they all have to deal with the Pyro star system being at the end of its life cycle, emitting huge amounts of solar flare radiation.
I'm a streamer, bro, back off.
And we have to consider, like, what is that actually doing to each planet? Naturally, Pyro 1, closest to the sun, is going to be the heaviest influence of the solar flare firing off. So how do those people live? But the people furthest away from the solar flare firing off. So how do those people...
So solar flares are supposed to be firing off all the time. They're strong enough to damage your shields, ship components, and they can even damage and or kill you. How do plants survive a massive solar flare smashing into the planet, radiating and flash frying everything in its wake? Because and solar flares, the other thing is like, look, we have night vision scopes. I get it, but we don't have night vision. There's a lot of things that we don't have electronic wise. The solar flares also mess with electronics. Like, you really wouldn't be setting up shop planet side to attempt to farm if all your stuff is getting fried all the time. It gives plants protein, bro.
Live. But the people furthest away from the star on Pyrus 6 are going to have the least amount of radiation, but it's also going to be super cold at the same time. How do those people live instead?
Flexible rocks.
In Stanton, you have huge landing zones, which are very protected, very safe, lots of security.
Radiation is what I...
In Pyro, there's no such thing. You're very exposed to the danger. Everything is a lot more spread out. People aren't huddled into landing zones. They have the entirety of the system to roam across.
Okay, so he said that, you know, it's more dangerous in Pyro. It's not exactly safe in Stanton either. Crime stats don't mean anything really, except they give you a god marker if somebody wants to bounty hunt you. But come on, let's face it, there's very, very few legitimate bounty hunters that actually take those contracts. And the ones that do, I mean, it's kind of 50-50. Either they're good or they show up in a C1 and you're in a, I don't know, a Gladiator or a Blade or a, you know, F7 or an F8. And like I said, they show up in their C1 or I'm trying to think of some other ridiculous ships. They'll show up in a Redeemer with just a pilot. Yeah. Yeah.
There are no central sources
So
of power
I've seen
in the
Comanche,
Pyrostar
so I've
system. It's
seen.
all decentralized, and each outpost has its own different identity and what it means for you as a player as you go to these different places. Should you be aligned with one faction, you can visit these locations.
Really, Rakumo?
Should you align with another faction, you can go to these other locations instead.
You've got a lot more to do there. So instead of going down, doing a mission, flying away again, you can go down, do a mission, do another mission, do a third mission, and then go to another outpost on the same planet, do some missions there. You have a much more involved experience.
So let's look at some of the places you'll be visiting.
What's up, man? I'm doing good.
So farmsteads are a small slice of life within the Pyrostar system to get you into.
So, like, for real, man, like, I don't have a science degree, but the whole thing with master modes and the cargo is we're trying to make it more realistic and blah, 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 and immersion this and immersion that. I really did not think plants would grow when they're getting radiation blasts from a solar flare. Like, I am I wrong? Like I said, I don't have a science degree. I could be talking out my ass, but I did not think plants would survive a solar flare, atmosphere or no atmosphere. I really didn't. So I don't know. Like, that seems to me like it's breaking realism and immersion, but that's just me.
Introduced to what it's like to live there.
Landing complete.
Make sure
There are
you
places to gather
write a Spectrum
harvestables.
post, boys.
Places to complete your missions. And ultimately, your first introduction to how people live in the Pyrostar system.
Farms are probably one of my favorite ones, just because I really like the vibe of them.
Why is there no farms in Stanton? Like, couldn't you have added it? You know, I'm not going to ask that. I already asked it, but I'm not going to ask that question. I know the answer to that.
It's the closest thing to a home feeling I think you'll find in Pyro. You feel like there's a smaller community living here.
There's a lot more fields of crops, there's a lot more greenhouses. the lawless ones, we've got these like grub farm greenhouses, which are really cool as well.
UV protected.
They tend to be in a lot more open, plain-like areas, big fields of crops around them.
There is things to do, there's things to harvest, but it's also just the vegetation that kind of sits on a lot of the desolate landscapes that we have in Pyro. Give you a little bit of this mini feeling of like a little oasis.
There's one in particular on Pyro 2 that's really nice and has this really nice vibe, that kind of like lazy windmill circling in the breeze on a plain that's just like almost featureless apart from these few buildings on it. That really gives especially at sunset, like really gives an amazing vibe of like, these people live in the ass end of nowhere, but are really trying to do their best.
I'm gonna go on a quick little rant here because Heavy Bob posted it in the chat. Here's my big problem with what's going on within Star Citizen. They put in these new locations, distribution centers, the fobs. I'm trying to think of some other the new locations that they added in. They look nice. They look cool. They have no utility, and the missions are the exact same as they are in the bunkers that we currently have. There's no new added gameplay loops. There's no gameplay added around these new locations. But when you ask CIG and a large portion of the community, why the hell would you add these? And they say they need them for future development. Well, why aren't we adding, this is an alpha, why aren't we adding gameplay elements and then adding locations later, or adding gameplay elements with the locations? Because the other thing I've seen, and I would have to dig back a couple of weeks, couple of months into other ISCs and pull up, I think it was Elliot saying that a lot of these locations, they can't design missions around because of the way that they were designed. So what the hell? And then the other thing that you hear too is, well, we can't add these certain gameplay features until server meshing is done. And it's just this big, sorry, I punched the mic. It's this big loop-the-loop that we do every time they do something like this. Like, look, I understand Quana, you need, or StarSim or whatever the hell they're calling it. I understand you need server meshing for that sort of thing to work. Okay, I'll give you that. But designing new missions with new loot and new features and new other thing doesn't necessarily require server meshing to be complete. You can have that and then migrate it over once server meshing is done. So, like, why do we do this? Comanche brings up a good point. You can do medical rescues with the NPCs. I mean, they don't really walk around too far from where they spawn anyways. Do that. Like, yeah. I don't know, man. Like, there's no utility to a lot of these places either. And distribution centers, I thought that between 3.23 and 24, that they would add much more gameplay missions and much more utilitarian tasks to do within there, but they haven't. They really haven't. And I wish it would. I wish they would address this sort of stuff. Pagan, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day at work, man.
To survive.
There are going to be some goods that are only grown.
And then lastly, the other thing is like when they add quality of life, or like the new star map or the mini map or whatever, and the community's like, the biggest patch ever. Like, that's all stuff that's basic day one, day two development stuff. And I'm exaggerating and being facetious all at the same time, but that's all day one, day two stuff that's put into games when they first start development and are released to the public in early access or alpha. Like, come on, that's really low hanging fruit, guys.
In Pyro, because of its unique star system, that can be shipped back to Stanton.
We have a whole bunch of new mission types.
Breaking news. I'm hearing from TJ Ramoyne that the PTU is down. They updated it and apparently broke it. And I agree, Bob. Why would you be handpicking fruit to go and sell it? Like, it does not make sense.
You'll be able to do that. Then they're more geared around repairing pieces of machinery, We have what we call charge.
More fucking beams, CIG. More fucking beams. Thank you. I appreciate that. So now we're going to repair with beams too. Just does that mean engineering is going to be part beam, part replace a fuse or a component? Because damn, man, damn.
Drain technology coming over from Squadron, which enables you to transfer an electrical charge from one component to another. So you can like jumpstart a generator, for example. There's scope for much more gathering type of missions, like going out into the field, collecting crops. There's a big focus on non-combat at a place like a farm.
And here's the other thing. I want to collect pieces of fruit and vegetables by hand, and then have to use a clunky system to then move them from my backpack or core armor to the kiosk to where I want to store them. And then when I want to sell them, I have to move them from the warehouse or local inventory back to the kiosk, back to my body, then put in a cargo. Like, the whole thing is, it's why? Just why?
Let's talk about scrapyards.
It does need to be meaningful.
Scrapyards are one of the few locations within the Pyrostar system where you can actually service your ship that is not on space stations or LEOs.
We'll have more scrap in a scrapyard, which makes a lot of sense, but we've got the towering cranes with derelict spaceships in there, the skeletons of spaceships being pulled apart.
And we can see that there is a certain order to things where things get disassembled and moved around, and where your aircrafts are getting refueled and repaired. There will be little shops as well to kind of get you on the way for your...
Whoa. Okay. I've gotten down on them for the realism and the immersion thing about having farms in a star system where there's regular solar flares that contain radiation and harmful UV rays to plants. And okay, I can kind of look past it because video game. But here's the problem that I have right now. If you go back in time, not even a full year ago, they were talking about how Pyro was not going to have mining outposts, landing pads, and etc. to go and refuel, rearm, and repair at, because they wanted to make it dangerous traveling from one place to another in Pyro. And they wanted to give meaning to the Starfarer. Is that it? Right? It is the Starfarer. That's the one that refuels. They wanted to give meaning to that ship. So once again, I don't know how much money that ship costs. I'm going to guess somewhere between $300 and $400 is what I'm going to get. Well, I'd say $275 to $400. I'm assuming is what that ship costs. So you're telling me that for the past 5 years plus, you've been telling people Pyro was going to be big and there was not going to be many places to refuel, rearm, repair, and refueling was going to be a major component of what Pyro was. And now you've taken that away too. Like, there's actual gameplay there. People want to do it. I know people in Discords that want to repair ships, sell them, make them their own, salvage them, refuel ships, all of that stuff. They want to be the maintenance crew of the verse. And I know a few of them. And you just took all of that away. You took medic gameplay away for the most part. It's still sort of there, but not really. And now you took away the meaning for fuel rats or maintenance guys or whatever you want to call them, the grease monkeys of the verse. And I'm not talking about the NPCs. I'm talking about players. And now you've made more places to land, to refuel, rearm, and repair. Can somebody please make sense to this? I don't understand this. Can somebody make sense of it? Like, I am not trying to. I guess yes, I am, dude. CIG, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, people may think that I don't like this game, that I hate on this game, that I think this game is trash. I don't. I think the development has been too long. I praise the developers when they deserve it. I think for the most part, a lot, not all, a lot of the developers do a good job. They want the game to succeed. They want their particular area that they're working on to succeed. But then I look at upper management and I just go, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, this is ridiculous. You've been promising real use for a Starfare for years, and now you took it away. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, they need an economy team. Their economy team is actually the marketing team.
Journey.
And we've got these large landing pits in all the scrapyards that are unique to the scrapyards, which are the big sort of sunken pits for repairing, rearming, refueling. They kind of bring that kind of unique, okay, this is a scrapyard because I know that there's a landing pit here, and they're the only types of outposts that have those.
I see your message, Ramon, about not being able to
here,
sell
you'll be able to interact with Chrysler services, refuel your ship, repair your ship, even rearm your ship as well. In addition to servicing your ship.
Look, I think it's cool that you can do that, but this was supposed to be sparingly and in Pyro, and you weren't supposed to be able to just land anywhere and do this. So I don't know. Like, I'm not a refueling guy, and I don't have an inkling to do it. But for those that do, you just killed Pyro for them. And honestly, you don't want to be ganked. Like, here's kind of how I was looking at it. If you don't want to be ganked in Pyro, fly a Starfare. This is before they changed it. Fly a Starfare. Why? Because people are going to need fuel. Why would you blow up the fuel guys? Because they're going to get you the fuel that you need. People won't gank you. I'm sure maybe GrieferNet might take exception, but I don't know. I'm not trying to speak for them. But here's the thing. So when I used to play DayZ, there was a server that we played on. And on that server, there was a guy that had a way of getting things, right? The stuff that we needed, right? Nails, metal, blowtorch heads, all the hard stuff to find, right? He would play days and days, hours and hours and hours, right? And he was the server's trader. There was an unspoken rule on that server that this particular guy, I can't remember his name, we'll call him Potato Lover, right? There was an unspoken rule that you did not mess with Potato Lover. Potato Lover was the guy that you traded with. You needed nails, you needed screws, you needed metal, whatever it was that you needed. He was the guy to go and talk to. That was the guy. I think refuelers would have been treated the same way, like the unsung heroes of Pyro, because everybody would need them. The gankers would need them. The murder hobos would need them. The griefers would need them. The I'm only interested in PvP player or PvE players would need them. I'm only interested in salvaging players. They would all need them. So but that's just my view. That's just my view. Let's just call him Bob.
You can also service the scrapyard itself. You've got to use your charge and drain tools to be able to repair pipes, repair canisters, any faults in machinery, etc.
Bob?
It's very much about taking things apart and organizing them and shipping them off again.
But unlike the landing zones within the Sentinel system, there is no air traffic controller. There is nobody to filter out where you can go. You simply choose a parking space, you land there, you service your ship, and you must fly out.
See,
the new mission type that we have.
I only know of Pyro as of what it was supposed to be as of 2 years ago. The rest of it I've been filled in. Like, Pyro was supposed to be a red dwarf star, and it was supposed to have a red hue to everything. Now look, make fun of me if you want. I've been playing No Man's Sky off and on lately, and I absolutely love that this one planet that I'm on, it's when it's sunrise or sunset, the sky turns purple, and it's amazing looking. And I think we could use more things like that. But obviously with one system, you can't really do that. And now Pyro has a regular sun. I think it's I forget my solar definitions, but I think that's our sun, and the one in Stanton is I forget what type of star that is, but we're getting basically the exact same sun, but with solar flares.
Is salvaging, but in first person.
I've really enjoyed
you don't
No Man's
need
Sky.
to be in a ship. It will be something that you can do on foot. So salvaging all the various panels which have turned up at the scrapyards in order to process them.
It's not even worth it.
Another piece of non-combat gameplay at scrapyards might be repairing machinery.
Yeah, that's true, Heavy.
We have a system which uses the resource network and engages it in missions. So you will be able to, for example, if there's a broken piece of machinery, you'll be able to find a working piece of machinery, rip components and fuses and parts out of that, apply it to the broken one, and make that run instead. But of course, you've broken the first machine by doing that.
Without any landing zones in the Pyro Star system, we're using scrapyards to be able to help service your ships so that you can navigate to other locations on the planet, as well as get back up into space as well.
It is.
But the largest concentration of player activity is going to be happening at the navigate to other locations on the planet, as well as get back up into space.
Is this the new MFD system? Maybe I would have to see it from a first-person perspective, but this looks too small. It really does look too small. I would have to see it from first-person perspective.
As well. But the largest concentration of player activity is going to be happening at the trade posts.
Exactly, Bob. There needs to be meaning. The one thing I like about games like DayZ, No Man's Sky to a degree, and some of these other survival games is that everything that you do has meaning, but it also has a consequence. Yeah, you can link me something. Everything has meaning or consequence. And I like games like that. The only reason why I don't play DayZ right now is because I don't want to get addicted to it again. And when you build a base in DayZ, you're pretty much married to it. And I don't want to play that style of gameplay, especially when I have to work 12 hours a day, 4 days a week, because when I work and come home, I really don't play games. I hang out with my family for a little bit, and then they go to bed, I go to bed, and I do the work thing the next day until I have a day off. And then I play video games or chill with you guys. So yeah, that's how I go about it.
Posts are where the player is going to be dealing with trade and commodity, organizing themselves between different groups in order to purchase different food, water, ship weapons, ship components, armor, grenades, med pens, whatever, you name it, it can be found and sold here.
They focus quite heavily on hauling, delivery, and shuttling goods around.
Trader posts are organized by several different factions within the Pyro Star system. At these different locations, you might find different inventory, different perks, different goods. So if you're aligned with Citizens for Prosperity, you might visit locations such as Jackson Swap on Pyro 2 or Conard View on Pyro 6. Conard View is in a very cold location that's very inhospitable, but people still need to be able to service and trade and do things around this planet. You can find different goods, different resources there, all being sold at this location. As Conard View is sheltered within a crater, it is also a safer location away from other headhunter gangs nearby, so you've got fewer people competing for your wares or trying to pirate from you either.
Cosmic!
Jackson Swamp is sheltered between these two different cliff bluffs, offering them lots of protection. And through there we went for a spaghetti western style main thoroughfare with lots of different landing pads around. And because it's well established, it's got some nice defensive measures so that it can't be immediately attacked by any rogue factions within Pyro.
We see in Jackson Swap, it's a hard environment that these people live in.
I hate these damn things. Like, I really do. Like, I don't understand the ATM for your items thing. I just don't get it. I really don't. I wish I could say I do understand it, but I don't, and I don't like it.
It's not an easy living.
Visually, it echoes like the rest of the sort of art style that we call the sort of frontier art style.
If we look at the buildings, we see that there's a lot of stucco elements, there's a lot of makeshift little knickknacks that people have gathered from around the Pyro system.
It's a mixture of that hard scrabble life and people trying to make the best of what they have and repairing things over and over again and like replacing things that break.
You can see that the way that people are living there, it's very makeshift.
I like the design. It looks
Rooms
cool.
were built to have a certain purpose, but have lost that purpose many years ago.
There's still that sort of decorative, artisanal, craftsman-like elements in there as well.
I mean, the design looks cool, but why am I going there? That's the question I have. What is my reason as a player to go there? What am I doing? Can I make pizza in that oven? Right? That looks it looks like a good pizza making oven, but like why am I going there? What is the reason behind me wanting to go there? What is the resource? What is the loot? What am I getting out of it? And what is the consequence? Like I really want to know, because this just does not, like, once again, we covered it before. It's a set dressing. What is the purpose of this set dressing? To pick up a box? Damn, Rakumo.
The rough weave rugs and things like that. So we're trying to really like push that homesteading vibe in complete opposition to things like the space stations and, you know, Microtech, which up to now has been this very corporate, lots of metal, lots of angles, lots of edges, lots of sci-fi. This is supposed to soften off all those corners.
Why aren't you doing this in Stanton already? Hurston, half of Hurston is, you can have farms and homesteads and all of this stuff. Like, why is that not there? Why is it not on Microtech? Like, why? Like, why is this stuff not there? Why is it only in Pyro? And like, all we have in the Stanton system is like derelict settlements and derelict ships, and it's almost always filled with Ninetales. Yeah, I know they've added some other area, but like, we need these kind of settlements. And honestly, what I was hoping cargo missions would be is taking goods from one settlement to trade them at another settlement, and those two settlements working together. That's what I was hoping some, not all, but some of those cargo missions would be, is running goods from settlement to settlement, or going up to, like I said, I don't know, one of the landing areas, like let's say New Babbage, and one of the settlements on Hurston needs A, B, and C. So you go there and you get A, B, and C, or maybe you can only take one at a time, like A and B and C, and you fly back and forth delivering those goods, and they pay you for it. That's what I was hoping cargo missions were going to be. What I've seen from streaming, which isn't very much because none of them work well, is that it's just some message on the screen to get X thing and bring it to the X place. Like, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, I still am just going to keep asking this question. Why are we going there? What is the reasons for me going there? I agree, Bob. We've gotten away. Like, I don't understand this. Star Citizen has gone away from NPC interactions and put everything on a screen. And I don't like that. There should be NPC interactions. Like, I should be able to go up and talk to somebody. I should be able to go up and talk to a person and they give me a mission, or a random person on ArcCorp stops me and is like, hey, this evil corporation in area 24 took my kid. They're holding him hostage, and you go to area 24 and, even if it's a small area and you kick in the door there or use a door cutter to get in and you fight your way up 5 levels and you rescue the kid, or you're on a settlement on Hurston and you're like, hey, what's going on here, guys? And they're like, oh, these guys stole our water filtration system. They took it to Aberdeen. It's ex-pirates. Go deal with them. Like, come on. Like, please give me something like that. I'm not even the biggest PvE guy when it comes to Star Citizen, but give me, like, come on. I don't want to have to go to my mobile glass every single time I want a mission.
You as a player can land whatever size ship you have.
That's true.
Purchase whatever size ship components and ship weapons you might want to have. You can visit the local warehouse or order any potential things that you might need to have, commodities, food, etc. Where anybody needs to be able to get something, purchase it, collect it. This is where all the players are going to be collecting.
I hate you, Grumpy, in a nice way. Stones.
But maybe you align yourself with headhunters and you visit locations like Gonno Steel and Golden Riviera. Gonno Steel is a smaller outlaw trade post perched in Pyro 4's massive crater. It's there as a stopgap between Pyro 3 and Pyro 6 because there is not much landmass around Pyro 5. Pyro 5 is a gas giant, and yet you need to have a midway drop-off to get from Pyro 3 over to Pyro 6 on the far side because Pyro's star system is far larger than Stanton.
I'm gonna get banned
Golden
by
Riviera
CIG.
is one of those sleazy towns which is just full of seedy people, absolutely taken over by the headhunters. They've butchered everything. They've changed how they want things to work.
That's kind of how I
Trade
feel.
posts are possibly
Mason.
selling slave pods. You can find other illegal goods, but it's just a central
Slave
hub of like
pods?
sleaziness.
Don't judge them.
It is
They're gonna get
still
canceled
built
for
out of
the
this
sleaze, the
this
slave
minimal
pods.
things that are laying around. It's very a hodgepodge of different things that come together. What makes Golden Riviera different is that now a tornado just
It's
went.
called Golden Riviera. Where's the casinos, man? Where's the slots? Where's the blackjack? Where's Texas Hold'em? Come on, give me some gambling. Like that would be a cool gameplay feature. Yeah, I'd play.
Through the entire place. It is absolute chaos. Bits and bobs are laying around. Things have rusted, and you will find mattresses of where
mean, you
people
can't get
have been
dialogue out
sleeping
of
in the
T-posing
weirdest corners.
NPCs.
We can see that the people that have been living in the space have really outlived this location a little bit.
The idea is that these are
A little bit.
Look, it's the ion cannon from Star Wars Episode Strikes Back. Episode Strikes Back. Jesus. Empire Strikes Back. Holy cow. It's the ion gun though. It's the ion cannon. Watch out, Star Destroyers.
The idea is that these are once prosperous outposts that have since been like basically home invaded by the bad guys and taken over completely. So we use a lot of like more like fire and lots of spiked kind of like cladding and rusty metal elements just to give that kind of, I hesitate to say Mad Max, but kind of that more apocalyptic vibe, I suppose.
Jackson Swap, even though it is very improvised, it has a certain structure underneath it. And Golden Riviera just, this structure is nearly gone. It is really chaos, anarchy that this place really embodies.
I don't know. So far I hear a bunch of, it looks great. We put a lot of time into making it look good. It looks great. It looks good. But I see no functionality about it.
The players coming to our locations should feel like they are encountering a whole new frontier where people feel a little bit on edge and they're
BFG
curious about you,
1000
but
is
they're
the
also
greatest
hesitant to
gun in
meet you at the same
FPS
time.
history.
There is no law, there is no jurisdiction, there is no protection. There is just you and people trying to get by and live their
I'll
lives.
ask this question after this is done.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully that there's a whole lot more to Pyro than just
So far, all I've learned this week is that there's still no pyro system, and you guys keep talking about it like it's coming out tomorrow. Thanks, Jared. So here's my question. Are there going to be crime stats in Pyro? And if so, because we know players are still going to be like, oh, you shot at me, I'm giving you a crime stat. All right, Comanche, you have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. You shot at me, I'm going to give you a crime stat. Or is that gone? Like, is that totally gone? Is there no eye in the sky whatsoever? I forgot to look throughout the video. Is there no eye in the sky through any of this? That's right. That's the eye in the sky, right? So unlawful crime stats. Okay. But what they said that you can't jump from Pyro to Stanton with a crime stat with a CS3 or higher. And you can't jump from Stanton or you can't jump from Stanton to Pyro without a CS3. And welcome, Canop. So how do we clear our crime stats in Pyro? And they said, now I know the answer to that. They said they hadn't thought about that yet. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's got me scratching my head. Like I don't know what to say about it. So, oops. We got a submitted video.
There's a lot you can say about.
Yeah. We got a submitted video from Heavy Bob. We're going to take a look at that real quick. Sorry, guys. I have yet to clear this all out. Wait, UEE is going to be inside of Pyro? Oh, my God. They just keep changing everything. I mean, it's not that big of a deal that they change things, but, like, it seems like they're going totally against what Pyro was originally designed to be, so. Yeah. All right. This is Bob, Heavy Bob sent this in. It's by Gabe Newell.
Where you'd be
Player IGN, Gabe Newell, fun is not realism, but reinforcement. Okay, let's see what he has to say. This looks like Half-Life, maybe?
where you'd be sitting in a design review and somebody'd say, that's not realistic. And you're like, okay, what does that have to, like, explain to me why that's interesting, because in the real world, I have to write up lists of stuff I have to go to the grocery store to buy. And I've never thought to myself that realism is fun. I go play games to have fun. And so we had to come up with some notion of what fun was. We knew it was an ad hoc definition, and it was the degrees to which the game recognizes and responded to the player's choices and actions, right? You know, in behavioral science, you would say we were explicitly talking about what were reinforcers and what the reinforcement schedules were, right? At that point in time, that was a useful way of making design decisions. The point I would make is, if I go up to a wall and shoot it, to me, it feels like the wall is ignoring me. I'm getting a narcissistic injury when the world is ignoring me. So does this, like, to me, I was trying to convey to the user a sense of, yes, you were making choices, yes, you were progressing, which meant the game had to acknowledge that back to you. If you shoot at a wall, there have to be decals. If you kill a bunch of Marines, the Marines have to run away from you, right? You have to have this sense of the game acknowledging and responding to the choices and actions and progressions that you've made. Otherwise, it loses any choices and actions.
This is very important to me right here.
The game acknowledging and responding to the choices and actions and progressions that you've made. Otherwise, it loses any sort of impact.
So basically what he's saying is everything we're asking for. We want there to be a reason for us to be doing the things that we're doing and to have a reaction from the things that we're doing and a consequence as well. And I find it odd at this stage of development, we still don't have those basic things in right now. And I would like to see more of that in CIG's development. Yeah. Yes, Mason, I agree. I agree. Like we need to be further along than where we're at. And we can't just keep slapping shiny things on a system and saying, hey, look, we added this new thing. When in reality, yes, you added a new location, but you've added no depth of gameplay. You've added no gameplay function. You've added no reason to go to that place. You've essentially you added a hollow area because there's nothing to do there, and there's no reason to go there, and there's no consequence for going there. There's no anything. There's no everywhere. There's no anything. And when you're constantly answering, when we ask these questions and we're constantly saying no, 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 it makes for a very hollow experience. And no wonder why piracy and PvP is such on ganking, murder hobo, whatever you want to call it, is such on a rise, because there's nothing to fucking do. And that's a problem. That is a big problem. And, you know, we discussed it. I'm going to share this with you guys. We discussed it the other day or a couple of weeks ago. That the player counts are very, very low right now. They're unconfirmed, they're unsubstantiated, but player counts are very, very low right now. And that needs to change. Like that needs a lot of fixing. And that's not on the players, that's on CIG to fix. So maybe one day, right? Maybe one day. Maybe one day. All right, we're going to jump to something a little bit different. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, we did two. Well, we did a Star Citizen and a gaming one back to back. So we're going to do this guy. It's the Fat Electrician and Grief for Night Victory. And this is going to be a little bit of a World War II history. So I really enjoyed this guy. I think Pagan sent this in. So we're going to check this one out.
You know what you call the only Type 9C German U-boat left in existence?
So this is the Fat Electrician and some World War II history coming your way.
C German U-boat left in existence? America's. Today we're talking about the time that America stole an entire German submarine and then stuck it in the middle of Chicago. I mean, when America strategically transferred a piece of equipment to an alternate location. But first...
That was good. That was really, 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 really good. That was really good.
Word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Warwood Tools, a family-owned business that for over 160 years has been making sledgehammers and axes right out of West Virginia using American 1060 high-carbon steel. And to this day, they still make all their tools using World War II era drop hammer forging. So if you want some tools that are going to outlast you, I would recommend Warwood Tools, and I'll have them linked in the description down below. Moving on. Okay, important context in case you don't know. During World War II, American supply lines to the European theater were absolutely devastated by German U-boats, aka submarines. These German
Dude, say what you will about, you know, Germany during World War II, the evils, the Russians committed a lot of evils too. All sides did. But their effectiveness with U-boats is just, it's absolutely unparalleled what they did in World War I and World War II with their submarines. It's absolutely incredible.
U-boats are credited with sinking over 2,700 American ships, totaling in over 14 million tons of American ships and supplies that were put at the bottom of the ocean. Because of this, America would form what is known as hunter-killer groups, task forces of American ships who were sent out, and their entire job was to hunt and destroy these enemy submarines. Because that's just how America gets down. We don't believe in self-defense, we believe in self-offense. It's way more efficient. And that's pretty much all the context.
It's not Rakumo, but when you start talking about American metallurgy, a lot of things are casted and not forged, and a lot of it is used. A lot of it uses cheap pot metals, stainless steels, and things like that. Whereas if they're using 1060 high carbon steel and they're forging it that way, that's going to be pretty incredible tool. But it's not common for in the United States that tools are made that way. Like I said, a lot of them are casted, and there's issues with casting because you get air bubbles and not thoroughly heat treated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
actually needs. So, April 4th, 1944, a hunter-killer group known
World
as
War
Task
II
Force
was weird, man.
22.3 would set out, engage, and destroy the German U-boat 515. Absolutely everything went according to plan. Nothing was out of the ordinary. They hit it with depth charges, critically wounding the submarine, forcing it to surface one last time to allow the crew to escape before the submarine would sink below the ocean waves forever. But it was on this particular day that the American commander Daniel Gallery would take unique notice of the fact that the German submarines always...
He kind of looks like a 1940s gamer nerd. He just needs the glasses.
surface to allow their crew to escape, and he decided that he was going to do something unprecedented, something that no American sailor had done since 1815. He was going to send out a boarding party and steal that enemy submarine. He immediately puts a plan into action, assembling 2 separate boarding parties, each to be comprised of 1 officer and 8 enlisted men. And these 8 enlisted men are going to be the top 8 guys that you would absolutely want on hand to be able to address any problem that could arise with keeping this submarine from sinking to the ocean floor. People like the electrician, the machinist, the boatswain's mate, the torpedo technician. Oh, and the...
Only to a point, Ramoy. There's still, you still have to give the players the who, the what, the whys, and the wheres. And I mean that in who are we going to go help do a mission for, etc. Why are we doing it? Where is it? And how are we going to do it? And the problem is that within the constraints of the game currently, we don't get a lot of that answered with yes, yes, and yes. It's no, no, maybe, sorta. And I hope that when 4.0 comes online, server meshing comes online, and Elliot and the rest of the team can start coding better missions and CIG can start doing better NPCs, that maybe we can start getting to that. There has to be reasons for what we're doing. And right now there is no reason for anything that we're doing. You know, mining has no reason other than to make money. Salvage has no reason other than to make money. Bounty hunting has no reason other than to see a pretty boom and make money. And yeah, it's crazy. But anyways, so 2 boats, 1 officer, 8 men each, and these guys are going to go mess this stuff up.
Photographer. Yeah, one of the 8 people going on the
photographer?
extremely dangerous and important mission is going to be a photographer because, you know, Pixar, it didn't happen, right? America's about to do some gangster shit. You best believe we're going to designate somebody to stand in the corner with the camera and yell "World Star" while we do it. June 1st, 1944, Task Force 22.3 receives intel that there's an enemy submarine operating off the coast of Africa. That submarine would turn out to be U-boat 505, and they would head to it immediately. And this poor U-boat has absolutely no idea what's coming for it, because at this point in time, this task force is comprised of the flagship and escort carrier, the USS Guadalcanal, as well as 5 destroyer escorts, the USS Pope, the Pillsbury, the Jinx, the Chatelaine, and the Flaherty. And if you don't know what a destroyer escort is, at this point in time, it is a ship that has one job and one job only, and that is to fuck up enemy submarines. Okay, this hunter-killer group is rolling up on this U-boat like Debo on a beach cruiser. Somebody's about to have a bad day, and it's probably not going to be them.
Oh, shit.
June 4th, 1944, after 3 days of chasing down this U-boat, they would finally catch up to it, and the USS Guadalcanal would immediately scramble 2 Grumman F-4F Wildcat fighters as the rest of the destroyer escorts made their way towards the submarine. U-boat 505 was already submerged and underwater, but the Grumman F-4F Wildcat pilots are able to see the long dark shadow of the submarine underneath the water because it's broad daylight. And once they confirm that it is in fact an enemy submarine, the destroyer escorts begin loading their hedgehogs to fire upon it. If you don't know what a hedgehog is, it is the most feared anti-submarine weapon in all of World War II. It is like a fully automatic mortar capable of firing over a wide area. Once these mortars hit the water, they can plunge into the depths of the ocean at 33 feet per second, and as soon as they make impact with anything, they will explode and destroy it. The hedgehogs would detonate early, not scoring a direct hit, but still rocking and damaging the submarine, jamming its propeller, and putting out its lights. Quickly realizing they hadn't done enough damage, the destroyer escorts above would begin launching depth charges. The depth charges would rupture the hull of U-boat 505, 505, and the
guys.
entire
Crazy
submarine
guys.
would be forced to surface one last time as a hatch would open and all the German sailors would begin flooding out onto its deck and into life rafts. At this point, the American boarding party grabbed their Tommy guns, hopped in their whaling boat, and made their way over to the submarine. They received no resistance from the Germans as they made their way down the hatch into the sub and began working on it to try to save it. Okay, time out. I need to make sure that you fully grasp how ridiculous what these 9 Americans are about to do actually is. Okay, you have a German U-boat that is so critically damaged that the 50 men that have been living on this U-boat, that have been trained on this U-boat, this U-boat has controls in their language and in their units of measurement. And they have decided cumulatively that, hey, this thing is so damaged that we need to run for our lives. And then while they were evacuating, they would also place scuttling charges, which are large explosive devices that detonate, ensuring that the ship sinks so that America can't retrieve it. So not only is the situation so bad that 50 of them can't fix it, but they made the situation worse on their way out. And you now have 9 Americans, one of which is a fucking camera guy, going in there to do what they couldn't pull off. This mission is seemingly impossible and borderline insane, but they do it anyways because America. So they get inside the sub and begin going to work immediately. The torpedo technicians and ordnance officers begin defusing scuttling charges as the electricians go to work at trying to get the bilge pumps back up and running to pump.
And Ramon, even if we didn't get the Enigma device off of that ship, if this is the one that we get it off of, because I can't remember the U-boat that we got it off of, even if this isn't, this is a huge flex on Germany being able to take one of their U-boats from them in one piece. That's a huge flex. That'd be like in today's current military standards, somebody being able to board and take one of our aircraft carriers from us.
Water out of the submarine, and the damage control men and the machinists begin working on plugging holes and getting the motor back up and running. And while all of this is going on, the officer in charge of the American boarding party, Lieutenant Albert David, notices that the submarine is sinking so fast that there is now water pouring into the open hatch on top. And it is at this moment that he has to make a split decision. He either has to get his men out and save their lives, or he has to shut the hatch and give them more time to work. But if they can't pull it off, they are all going to die in that submarine. And without thinking twice, he closes the hatch. A few minutes later, the second boarding party would board U-boat 505, and they would attempt to open the hatch to get inside the submarine and help, but the sinking submarine had created such a powerful vacuum that it was impossible. So they did the next best thing. They got a tow line, tied the U-boat 505 to the USS Guadalcanal, as the USS Guadalcanal began towing the now sinking U-boat. Feeling that they were now moving, the Americans on the inside had an ingenious idea. You see, the U-boat didn't have enough power for anything but lights. They were running entirely on batteries. The reason they didn't have power is because the propeller was jammed, and the propeller was jammed because they couldn't get the motor going again. So what they did was they disconnected the drive shaft between the motor and the propeller, allowing the propeller to free spin in the current of the USS Guadalcanal as it's being towed. This would turn the alternator, generating power and giving the U-boat enough power to activate its bilge pumps and begin pumping water out of it. I cannot stress to you enough how fucking genius this was to do. This saved all of their lives for sure, and to be able to have the knowledge and wisdom to come up with a solution like that while you're actively fucking dying in a tin can under the ocean is incredible. So things are already looking up, but at a minimum they have to get that hatch back open so that the first boarding crew can escape if they absolutely need to. So the second boarding crew with their Tommy guns proceeds to pluck one of the Germans out of their life raft and force him, persuade him to activate the pressure valve, which is going to equalize the pressure inside and outside the sub, allowing them to open the hatch door. That happens, and the second boarding crew gets inside and also gets to work. And all this is going on, and there's 50 Germans sitting out there in life rafts like, fuck. Like, what do you do in that situation? You have just been outclassed on every conceivable level. Like, you were in combat, they damaged your ship to the point that you couldn't fix it, so then you tried to rage quit and blow up your own ship, and then they're like, no, I've...
They tried to rage quit. What a great way of putting that.
Changed my mind. And then they went in there and made it so you couldn't even sink your own ship. At this point, the rest of the task force goes around plucking all the Germans out of their life rafts because they're now prisoners of war. As Commander Gallery comes to the conclusion, fuck it, we're just gonna have to tow this sinking submarine while it's actively sinking all all the way to the nearest American port, and we're just gonna have to have sailors in there working 24/7 around the clock to try to keep it above the waterline. Not a terrible plan, but the only problem is they're like 150 miles off the coast of Africa, and the nearest American port is 2,500 miles away, and if that wasn't bad enough, it's in fucking Bermuda, you know, where the whole triangle thing is. I mean, the disrespect with this is absolutely palpable. Could you imagine being one of these Germans sitting there like, not only are you not allowed to sink your own ship, you're not even allowed to rage quit. The Americans come in, steal your shit, and now they're gonna joyride it through the Bermuda Triangle and not even lose it just to flex on you like that? It's ridiculous. So they get everything buttoned up and they get underway, headed out to Bermuda. At which point, a couple days later, the commander of the German submarine wakes up in the infirmary on the USS Guadalcanal. Apparently, he had been hit in the head and lost consciousness for a number of days. At which point, Commander Gallery comes down to have a conversation with him, and he's like, hey, here's the deal. We stole your sub. We're towing it to the Bermuda Triangle for a joyride. It's gonna be great. The German commander absolutely refuses to believe him. He's like, that's not possible. I had 50 dudes. They weren't able to save that sub. We scuttled it on the way out for insurance. There's no way that you managed to keep that sub from sinking. At which point, Commander Gallery is like, oh, well, here's all the shit from your office that's distinctly not waterlogged. Also, if you look out the window, we're towing your submarine behind us right now. At which point, the German officer completely loses his shit. He starts crying. He's completely inconsolable. He's like, when my chain of command finds out that this happened, they're going to torture me, and then they're going to kill me. Or the other way around. I don't know. This is absolutely terrible. But Commander Gallery, being the cool guy that he is, he's like, hey, buddy, pal, friend, you're going to sit in a nice POW camp for the duration of the war. We're going to win, and by the time you get to go back home, you're not going to have a chain of command, and all of your leadership infrastructure is going to be completely dismantled. I wouldn't worry about it. Didn't really make him feel better, but I thought it was funny. Now, so they're still making their way towards that big triangle thing, but pulling this submarine and keeping it from taking on water is a constant struggle.
Imagine the balls you have to have to do this. Like, you have to have some pretty strong intestinal fortitude to be on a ship in the water during World War II to begin with, you know, natural weather occurrences, people shooting at you, U-boats, all of that stuff. You went, you chased this thing down, you blew it up, sorta, then went in there, took prisoners, went inside, fixed it up, and you're now towing it back. And there's other U-boats out there. There's still other U-boats out there. I mean, this is crazy. And yes, tunnel rats are absolute madmen as well. I would not want to be a tunnel rat, especially like during Vietnam and Korea and all that. No. I'm sure there was some tunnel ratting in World War I and II. Well, I know World War I, they use sappers, which is where you get the largest the largest wartime explosives until the first atomic bomb drop. I mean, Rakumo, you do bring up a good point.
And it's starting to look like they're not going to be able to keep enough water out of this submarine long enough to get it all the way to Bermuda. So they start interviewing Germans, trying to find one with technical knowledge that would be willing to help them keep it afloat. And that is when they come across a young German sailor by the name of Felix Ewald. And he would inform them that not only is he not German, he's definitely not a Nazi, and he's certainly not a fan. He was conscripted when the Nazis invaded Poland, and he was basically being forced to be there, and that if America wanted help, he was happy to do so. So he would immediately go to work helping the Americans keep the submarine afloat the entire time as they traveled back to Bermuda. As the remaining German POWs began asking questions, what happened to Felix? What happened to Ewald? Where's Ewald? And they began looking for him every chance
Marcus,
they got, searching everywhere they could find him.
But
the
I know there
Americans
was
had told
versions
him
of
that they
them
killed him, but they didn't believe it because they
war.
knew he was Polish too. So they just kept looking and looking, scanning everywhere. And this would be the inspiration for the childhood book, Where's Waldo? I'm just kidding, I made that part up. Anyways, with the help of Felix, they managed to tow this submarine all the way to Bermuda. They get it fixed up. It's definitely not going to sink, at which point they get to go in and really start looking at what intel they had managed to gather. And holy shit, there is an up-to-date active Enigma cipher machine on board. This is what the Germans were using to send all their secret military communications, and it could prove absolutely invaluable. They also had a bunch of up-to-date ciphers and a bunch of other documents that were deemed so important that they were printed on water-soluble paper so that if if the boat did sink and these documents got wet, they would completely disintegrate and be unrecoverable. It is at this point that the American leadership decides the Germans have to think that this boat went down and everyone died. We cannot let them know that we have this information, because now we're going to be able to decode all of their secret transmissions, and we don't want them to change the code. So they take U-boat 505, they actually paint it to look like an American submarine, and then start referring to it as the USS Nemo, which, if you don't know, is Latin for no one. They then take all the German POWs from U-boat 505, send them to Louisiana, where they are going to be completely segregated from all the other POWs, so nobody knows who they are or where they came from. All the American sailors are then ordered to turn over all of the souvenirs that they gathered out of U-boat 505 and to shut the fuck up about it. And as far as anyone on the planet needs to be concerned, this U-boat is at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, 150 miles off the coast of Africa. Nobody can know that we have this. But if those Germans weren't allowed to write home through the Red Cross, that's technically a Geneva Convention violation. But first of all, when you're on the winning side, those aren't actually rules, they're more like suggestions.
The code is more what you call guidelines than actual rules.
Secondly, let's just be honest here. If you were a POW in World War II and the worst thing that happened to you is you weren't allowed to write home while you were being well fed and treated with dignity, you came out on top. All right, so somehow the United States manages to keep this thing a complete secret until May 7th, 1945, when Germany issues their unconditional surrender. And it is at this point that the smack talking can now commence, because now we are going to take this submarine, you know, the only remaining Type 9C German sub left on the planet, even though they manufactured hundreds, we sunk all of them, except for this one. Now we're going to drive that bitch to Philadelphia and use it to raise funds, and anybody that buys a bunch of war bonds can get a guided tour of this German sub, because a lot of people quit buying war bonds after Germany surrendered because they thought the war was coming to an end and we were still fighting the war in the Pacific against the Japanese, so this was like a huge fundraising opportunity, and that's exactly what they did. They sold a ton of war bonds. As soon as that started slowing down, hey, we'll tow it to another major US city. They towed it up to New York. Then New York bought a bunch of war bonds, and then World War II would finally come to an end when Japan issued their unconditional surrender, and now we've got this German submarine and we don't know what to do with it. So the US government does what the US government do, and they're like, hear me out, what if we shot nuclear bombs at it for science?
Of course we did. Of course we did.
At which point, Commander Gallery, who's now an admiral, chimes in and is like, no, I stole that thing fair and square. We're keeping it. So he ends up orchestrating a deal with the city of Chicago where the US government will donate the submarine to the...
I lived in Chicago for 32 years, 33 years. Did not know that this submarine was there. I probably, let's see where it ends up being. I may have seen it, but I don't remember.
City of Chicago, as long as the city pays to have it shipped all the way there. And that's exactly what happens. They took a Type 9C German submarine, the whole thing in one piece, and put it in Chicago, you know, like the major city that's the most inland of any other city in America. It's literally fucking 2 Germanys into America. Yes, that is to scale. An incredible logistical feat is the icing on the cake for one of the most amazing and utterly disrespectful stories to ever come out of World War II. And I'm happy to say that if you would ever like to go see U-boat 505, you still can, because it is still in Chicago today at the Museum of Science and Industry.
Okay, I've seen it. I've been there. It's at the Museum of Science and Industry. I've seen it. Yep, I've been there.
Where it currently sits as a proud member of the 2nd largest navy on the planet, America's fleet of museum ships. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com.
Wow, that was really cool. That was really cool. Way to flex on Germany, man. Way to flex. We stole their U-boat. We kept it in one piece. We got the Enigma. We got all the ciphers, and took all their shit and put it in a museum. That's freaking awesome. What do you mean by that? Are you talking about the Nuremberg trials? Or because we didn't gut their economy like we did in World War One. And we even went and restored both Germany, France, or all the war-torn countries, and Japan. That was really good. That was absolutely fantastic. I'm going to share this with you guys. So that was the Fat Electrician and how we stole a German U-boat. Oh, didn't sync the majority. No, we didn't get all of them. We did sync a lot, but there, many of them malfunctioned and whatnot. Sank on their own, had accidents, went to Argentina to drop off people. I mean, there's entire places in Argentina that are completely German speaking. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Mengele, he got away and set up shop in Argentina, and he had a strange fascination with twins. So this particular town in Argentina has the most amount of twins born per year than anywhere else in the world, and has since the 1950s, I believe it is 1950s or 1960s. And even before the war, Canop, there was entire German settlements before the war. So I guess before, during, and after World War I, it was very, very cheap to go to Germany or to Argentina, from Germany to Argentina, and a lot of Germans went to Argentina. And obviously there was no TV back then, there was only radio. So there was Germans there during World War II that would have maps spread out on the table and be moving everything around according to what they heard on the radio. But I don't think they knew to what extent was going on in Germany at the time, because you have a couple of different types of German communities down there. There's ones that you can tell are a little not so good, and then there's ones where it's normal people. But yeah, the one, look, I forget the name of it, but there's a town in Argentina that has the most amount of twins born per year in the world down in Argentina, and that was thanks to that Dr. Mengele guy, Dr. Death, which his story in and of itself is absolutely bonkers, nuts, crazy. The guys, that was one of the few guys when I was doing all my reading, I wish would have gotten caught and taken care of. UK royal family were doing a long party with Germans in USA. There was Americans dealing with the Nazi regime during World War II. A lot of people know that the Bushes got their start in oil, which is true, they did, but they were also big into metal. And prior and during World War II, even after the United States announced its declaration of war against Germany, a guy by the name of Prescott Bush, father of George Herbert Bush, sold metal to the Germans, and he got caught, and instead of putting him in prison or shooting him for treason, they took away all the money that he had made and put it into Wall Street and created the Security Exchange Commissions off of that. They also put a bunch of the United States government also put a bunch of money into Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Chase, and a few other banking institutions that are now mainstays in the United States. So yeah. And that's what the Bushes did during World War II. We're going to do a funny one. I don't know this particular streamer. I've seen clips here and there. But this got sent to me from a guy at work, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So this is the worst Elden Ring player of all time by Flash Gits. We'll see. Flash Gits. So Flash Gits, the worst Elden Ring player of all time. As I said, I don't know the streamer in question. I've seen a few clips from here and there, and some of them are funny, and some of them make me scratch my head and go, what the hell just happened? But this was funny.
Welcome, tarnished. I have waited millennia to fight one worthy of me. Our duel shall ring down the ages. Oh, but But of course, I should have known you couldn't be defeated so easily. Let us do again.
Oh, fuck, it's Kai Sinat. Alright, that's okay. You can't possibly be as bad as everyone says. Uh-oh. Okay, look. See how I wind up my attack?
I'm going to be honest with you. If I were to play Elden Ring, I'd probably be seeing that black and red screen many, many times.
Just wait a beat before dodging. Got it? Ow! Okay, look. I'm not meant to do this, but, how about I just miss on purpose? Listen, Kai, I can't keep doing this, man. I heard the stories. 433 tries to beat
Dormammu, I'm here to make a deal. I'm sure most of you guys get that reference.
Melania. And then they say you only won because you drove her to insanity. Please don't take my mind from me, Kai. I want to die with dignity. Look, on guard. Attack me and I'll just let it happen. No! What are you doing? Okay, it's clear you're mentally challenged. I'll just do it myself.
Yo, huh? Did we got slain? Hey, yo, chat! He killed himself! Hell no! We gotta earn this, chat!
Huh? What? No! Fuck this game! Can't they just make an easy mode already? God, this is such bullshit! Really? Really? You're still gonna try to defeat me? No! If I'm gonna suffer,
So will you!
Huh?
Damn! Potion kinda cracked though.
It's not even him.
Ha! More cartoons right here.
Oh, that was good. That was really, really good. That was funny. That made me laugh. I'm all about laughing. That was really good. Oh man, that was funny. Oh, and you're right, Ramoin. I mean, we shipped in like 3,000 of them to help with build our space project up. Depends on how you build your your character. I know nothing of Elden Ring. All I really know of a lot of is you died. That's all I know. You sent me one? DMs or in reacts? I suppose I can just look. Ooh, Grumpy sent a good one. We'll do that one too. Do that one. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, but it makes me laugh anyways. Let's see. What else did we get here? Reacts. Did you send me one? Oh, okay, it was Grumpy. Okay, it was Grumpy. All right. Let's do the one that Grumpy just sent. Let me refresh it here. I created a new React list, and once I finish watching some of these videos and transferring some of the older ones that I really wanted to watch, but I never got to, I will clean this out because there's like 422 videos in here. I used to do a good job of cleaning them all out, but I stopped. I got lazy. There we go. All right, let's do the one that Grumpy just sent in. When Asian is a difficulty mode. If you haven't seen this, I've seen this before, but if you guys haven't seen it, this is great. The Y-Files is great. It's one of my favorites.
What the hell? Step on branch. Oh, that's the new level. They just released it. So many people in Asia complained it was too easy, so they made this.
I'm telling you right now, once the Koreans fully invest into Star Citizen, we're all fucked. I'm telling you right now, we're all fucked. They will beat the game, and I don't mean the game like as in the end game. I mean, they will beat the bugs, the glitches, the netcode, everything, and beat you at the same time. So once CIG fully vests in Asia and Korea gets on board, you're fucked, everybody. Everybody's fucked. We're all going to die to the Koreans in Star Citizen. I'm just saying right now.
A leaf. Was it poisonous? I think you press L2. I have to block the sun. Finally, some action.
Steven, when you get so fat.
Emotional damage!
You want some therapy?
You probably could just hold down the block button.
When you get so fat, you still trying to be an actor.
Hey!
But what happens when it's server mesh dangers? There's no escaping them.
I'm done. Steven, get the cheat codes. What? You don't want to beat it properly? I will send you to Jesus. Okay, here's one. L2, circle, circle, triangle. Okay, L, triangle, square, square, circle.
Whoa, is that a cheat code? Looks like you, my friend, are on the wrong difficulty level. See, we made this game mode for the 5-year-olds in Asia who kept beating our f***ing game in 5 minutes! How are they so good? We kept raising the difficulty, but it's just not enough for that! I can't even play that well and I made the f***ing game! So let's take you back to where you should be. Easy mode.
What? 拍到了。
That was funny. That was really funny. I've seen it before, but you know, it's always good. It's always good to have a good laugh. It's always good to have a good laugh. All right, now let's get back. Let's get back to some other reacts. React. Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I watched about half of it and I'm like, oh no. We need to watch this one together. So this is about Dune.
Here's the
I clicked too fast.
answer that I got.
This is about the new Dune game coming out. It's by Force Gaming. Apparently he interviewed the Dune Awakening game director. So make sure you check this out. And pay attention. There's some stuff in here that I think the other game needs to take some lessons from.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So recently I got the chance to sit down and have a chat with Dune Awakening's creative director,
and I'm probably going to get Dune.
We spoke in some detail about their upcoming survival sandbox MMO, and I did my best to ask questions about some of the things that I've been most curious about for the game, including the general gameplay loop, like how those starting hours look and where you go from there, what types of PvE activities and points of interest we can expect to see, how PvP is going to work, both the small and large scale, what dungeons look like, bike, the crafting and base building, and a few other things. It was about a 45-minute chat in total, and I'm going to condense that down, cutting all of the filler and the fluff. So here is what new things I've learned about Dune Awakening. My first question was, what are the opening hours like for players? Like, what sort of stuff can we expect to see and do in those first, say, 3 to 5 hours? He told me that really after character creation, there's a sequence where your ship gets shot down, you crash on the planet, and wake up inside of a cave. And then, quote, it's like a single player, maybe 10-minute tutorial section where we teach you the basics. You'll do a little crafting, you'll learn how to hydrate because that's important in Dune. You'll chat with a character and learn about the dialogue system, and then a bit of combat and a little bit of harvesting, and that is essentially it. After that, he said you leave the instance tutorial area, flying into a sandstorm, which results in you crashing once again, but now you find yourself in the Haga Basin, which is the first major open world multiplayer portion of the game. So I asked if there's a particular area that players will arrive when first entering Haga Basin. He said you can think about it a bit like Conan Exiles. There's multiple start points in the bottom of the map. There's, I think, 40 different places that you can spawn, and then you funnel and move upwards through the map from there. He then expanded upon what players will be doing in those first few hours. You'll be learning about water, learning about harvesting, and then building. You build your first rudimentary base, and then because of the worm, you can't really move out from that starting region too quickly. There's too much of a distance. If you try to run across the sand, you'll get eaten by the sandworm. So your first kind of major task is to build a vehicle. At which point he said that you'll be exploring this starting section of Haga Basin, searching through dungeons, ruins, and crashed shipwrecks, looking for the resources and schematics needed for you to build your first bike, which basically makes this section a bit of like soft progression locking, where you have to complete this task before you have the tool.
So he talks about soft progression locking. In some games it's bad, some games it's good. He does go on to explain that it's not necessarily completely progression locked, but I do like that there's multiple levels of the Haga Basin. So you start at the bottom and you work your way, like it's leveled, and not vertically, but out. And you'll be spending a lot of time in there exploring and doing things like that. I like where this is going. I like that you're going to be able to build vehicles, not just bases. So that's to me, that's cool. And I hope there's more vehicles than what they talk about here in this development thing, but we'll see. And I didn't watch the whole thing, so you know.
Tools needed in order to move forward and progress into the next area. Although he did clarify that this is only really going to be the case right at release, or if you play entirely solo, because later on, anyone can technically come and pick you up in their vehicle that you can use to cross the sands without having to first build your own bike. So for people jumping into the game, say a few days post-release, if you have friends that are playing, they can literally just come and pick you right up straight away after you finish the tutorial section.
That's awesome.
You can go across the sands and then move into the rest of Haga Basin. So my next question was about how much time we can expect to be spending in this Haga Basin region, because as we know, Dune Awakening is going to be divvied up into these multiple sections, which as of now, we know there is Haga Basin, and then the Deep Desert, and then the shared social hub towns.
Same here,
and with this question, I was really mainly curious about how much content we can expect in this region. So he said, based on what they've seen through their playtest thus far, it's roughly about 50 to 60 hours worth of content before most players leave. It's as big as Conan Exiles, he said. Haga Basin is as big as Conan Exiles. The thing that you need in order to leave is to craft your first flying vehicle, the Ornithopter. That's really what you need to get out of Haga Basin, and getting that is a journey in itself. There are multiple regions and biomes in the
So you got another essentially soft lock progression that you have to do, which once again, I'm not against it, but we'll have to see how this actually plays out. Like I want to see how this actually plays out. I don't want to just be constantly having to gather resources to build my next thing. I like I said, there has to be other things to do other than going to these places to get this. I mean, unless you're trying to speed run, but you know, I want to explore more of like the dungeons and the caves and the blown up ships and stuff like that.
Haga Basin. It is quite a big area. It is as big
doing
as our other
guns.
games. And just to
I'm not sure
clarify
about
here,
laser
in the
guns,
prior
though.
answer and with this one, he is talking about two different things. Your first soft progression gate is the crafting of a bike to leave the southern region of Haga Basin, which is basically the starting zone outside of the tutorial. And then beyond that, there is much more Haga Basin, all of these different biomes, places to see, and in those areas is where you're going to be spending that some 50 to 60 hours of game time, leveling, crafting, building, and just progressing your way towards the construction of your flying ornithopter. And then with that, you can leave finally the Haga Basin region and move into what is essentially the end.
It's made by Funcom. I think is who does it. So whatever Conan Exiles monetization practices are, it's probably very closely going to resemble that. I don't know much about it. I'm going to research it more before I buy into this game because I don't want to pay to win. And I don't want to get involved in another game where I have to buy more shit to play the game. And I'm just not doing it.
Game in Dune Awakening, which is the Deep Desert. He also made notes
has
here
server
that
meshing,
once you
Rhino.
get to this point where you've crafted your ornithopter, it is just like a straight up flying mount that you would expect to see in any MMO. Once you have it, you can fly over much of the environment, pretty much everything, and that really changes how you approach the world. In fact, talking about this, he said, "I always knew that scales of traversal would be a thing. So you start off on foot where it feels much more intimate, then you move to the bike, suddenly things become faster, more accessible, but then when you get the flying mount, everything changes. Harvesting becomes a matter of just flying to the right spots and picking things up. Every time you get one of these vehicle upgrades, it changes your perception of the world. Suddenly things open up." And I think his point in this comment was that they're looking to sort of draw out that experience a little bit. So you're not jumping into having a flying mount immediately and as such skipping over much of the content and the world traversal and exploration. They don't want that to happen too soon in the experience. You will have to go through these many hours of progression as you move your way through Haga Basin before you can eventually make that ornithopter and use that flying mount. Now after that, I asked him what sort of points of interest we can expect to see. This was a big curiosity of mine.
Cool.
Like what types of PvE and PvE areas and activities are we going to see? What is there going to be to do beyond walking through the desert collecting resources? So he said we have these things called shipwrecks. They are these small self-contained PvP spaces, salvage areas that are considered free-for-all where any player can attack each other. He said that as you approach a wreck, you will pass a threshold and then
I both like and dislike that PvP is going to only be done in certain areas. Like it's cool, but I also don't like it because, you know, I like that fear of getting ganked while, you know, I'm trying to harvest water or whatever resource. You know, I didn't play Conan Exiles, but I played Conan the Hypobarian Adventures that came out in like 2000. I say right around like somewhere between 2006 and 2008. And that was always a fear going from place to place, is that you could get absolutely ganked at any moment. And it made the game fun and exciting for me anyways.
and get a pop-up message that says this is a War of Assassins PvP area. Now, why are you going to those shipwrecks? Well, because they're going to have some valuable resources that you want. But beyond that, he also said, we have natural world structures. We have this giant hammer of a rock called Mizrabar. It's a sacred place to the Fremen. Underneath that are different NPC outposts, different factions in the game world that have different outposts in these different areas. There's a giant chasm in the world called the Haga Rift. As you go down into it, it gets deeper and darker, and at this point, all of a sudden,
I think there's going to be, the way, now I'm not going off of, I didn't finish this, I'm not going off of what's said here, because like I said, I only watched about half of it. But what I had heard and read and other stuff about Dune is that the resources are going to be relatively scarce. So it's going to cause definite player and NPC conflict because you need what they have. So I hope that stays true.
and you have to think about the lighting systems down there as opposed to up top. There's an area of the world where things have crashed and created a giant radiation zone, so you're gonna need to be properly prepared survival-wise with the right gear to go into that area. So yeah, there's a lot of different biomes and spaces in the world. Now at that point, I asked him for a bit more detail about these enemy camps. I was curious, is it what I expect? Are these just gonna be like different compounds and installments that are full of enemies? We go in, we clear them, and we collect loot, to which he said, yes. As an example, he said that you're gonna need fuel to power your shields and your bases. So you need to go run these outposts to get the fuel to keep your bases and vehicles up and running. The enemy camps actually serve the different factions, so they will each have their own unique individual look. He did say that you're gonna go to the different camps to get resources that are unique to them, along with collecting the cosmetic unlocks of each of the factions.
Why does what exist? What, pay to win? Or this game? I'm not sure. I'm not sure as what the why is.
Factions. But that's not all. There's also progression unlocks that are found here. You're also going to get these things called intel points, which are what you spend in the tech tree to learn new schematics. You get these as you level up, but you can also get more of them by clearing these enemy camps. Now, I asked him about biome variety, surprisingly enough, right?
I kind of like how you get the schematics. Why does Dune exist as a game? I don't know. I'm assuming they're trying to piggyback off of I mean, it's been in development for, I think, 5 years. So I think they're just trying to piggyback off of the newfound popularity that the movies Dune 1 and 2 that recently came out got. There had been an uptick on YouTube. And the only reason why I know this is because this one comic book chick that I watch occasionally, she's super huge into Dune. All right, Rhino, you have a good one, man. Enjoy the movies. I hope you're seeing a good one. Oh, I misread that. My bad, Rhino. As the movies were being produced, there was a huge uptick in viewership on YouTube and whatnot for people that were doing Dune lore and things like that. So I'm assuming it's coming off of that. And honestly, it does make for an interesting survival game if done right, because you're in the desert and obviously everything needs water to survive. And food is going to be scarce as well. Yeah, I misread that, but you know, and who knows, maybe this will bring about some new tech that, you know, we can use in other games. You know, I'm not going to buy this day one. I'm not pre-ordering it. I'm going to wait a few days or weeks into it so I can see what's actually going on with this game, because it very well could be a game that's not for me. You know, like once Human, not a game for me. Some people may enjoy it. I don't like it at all.
Yes, this is Dune, so there's mostly going to be sand everywhere, but I did get the sense in some of their early previews that they were using locations such as the Echo Labs to add a bit of visual variety to the world, and he pretty much concurred that was the case. He said, yeah, the Echo Labs have this lush feel.
And Star Wars is kind of a Dune ripoff, sorta, kinda, yeah.
In some of them, they're actually quite different. Some of them are like mining ecology labs, where you go down and they're using mining equipment to dig deeper down into the earth, and it's a different feel to the ones that are like this was a botany lab. But that's not all. He did say as well that in the world itself, they have areas where we have a backstory, like this area was built on top of an ecology lab, and the water systems from the Echo Lab have been running here for 10,000 years. They're sort of leaking a bit into the environment. So this part of the planet is actually slightly greener than you might expect. Now, I'm actually happy to hear that they're taking a few liberties here. It's not going to be 100% sand 100% of the places. They're going to mix it up a bit. Although he did at the end point out by saying, like, yes, at the end of the day, if you hate deserts, then I don't think this game is going to be for you, which of course it makes sense. It is Dune. It is going to be mostly desert. Honestly, it kind of feels like no matter what they did here in terms of adding biome variety or not adding it, they would be dealing with some complaints, right? Although he did add that in the Dune universe itself, it does allow for some of this already. He said there are...
Oh, he's going to say it right here. I was going to say, because in the Dune books, there's polar ice caps, there's a tundra area. It's just, for the most part, yes, it wasn't based on one planet entirely, but Star Wars is based on Dune, old school Kurosawa Japanese movies, samurai movies, and the Wild Wild West, which is where you get Han Solo from. It's kind of a conglomeration of ideas, but George Lucas did get a lot of stuff from Dune. Tatooine came from Dune. Their own version of Spice came from Dune. There's a lot of force powers, Dune. There's a lot of stuff that came from Dune into Star Wars. Chosen One, Messiah complex, that a lot of that all came from Dune.
Are things on the planet that we'll do in the future, in future updates, like they have the polar caps. There are ice caps in Dune. It is mentioned in the books. It's part of the lore. They have a tundra area. They have this line that the worms can't cross because it's too much moisture. But we wanted to capture the central Dune fantasy first before we started working on those other areas. Pretty much like lightly confirms,
cool.
like, hey, there's going to be...
They'll have like addition. Right? There's no way. I mean, the nice thing about this game is that it's not set in the actual Dune timeline. It's an alternate timeline. And I guess the way they altered the timeline is Paul is born second. What's her name? Lyanna? Lena? Whatever his sister's name is. She's born first and then Paul. So that's the change that they made. So it's an alternate timeline of the original Dune.
The snow expansion update as we move into the tundra and the like polar ice cap areas, right? That probably a safe bet that might happen in the future if they continue supporting this game, right? We're just throwing that out there. Now, my next question was about endgame. I asked him if they have anything that we would consider endgame, things like group-focused PvE activities. Here's the answer that I got. He said it's going to depend whether it's a PvP activity or not. So the deep desert has the big spice blows, and it's really a PvE activity to harvest spice. So you want to have a coordinated group, you want to be flying a transport ornithopter, carrying a sand crawler, you want scouts, you want people riding point with sand bikes to be dumping out thumpers to keep the sandworm away from you. We do actually really talk about it in terms of raids. He was talking about how the internal team discusses harvesting spice. He said that they say, these are the raids in our game. The boss is the sandworm, except instead of fighting it, you're trying to keep them away. While you're keeping them away, you're also harvesting spice out in the desert, and so that's the kind of coordinated PvE activity. The thing is, though, that this area...
Besides, wasn't it Leto, who was Paul's son, that was the God King, or the God Worm?
Is a PvP zone. So another guild can show up, and then you have to make those kind of decisions. Are we staying here to defend our harvesting area, or are we moving somewhere else? The activity itself, though, is designed as PvE, but the fact that you're in a zone where that threat can happen means that it can also quickly turn into PvP. So I followed up by asking if they would have any of what I would consider more traditional group-focused PvE content. Like, are they going to have any large-scale, elaborate enemy compounds, for example, with things like a traditional, hey, here's a very large, heavily armored boss of sorts at the end. You go in, you clear it for loot, stuff like that. His response was, there will be some of that stuff post-launch. It's not part of the main plan for launch, just because we wanted to focus on getting the deep desert right, having the recurring...
I mean, hey, good for them. They want to focus on getting the deep desert right, which is where the server meshing comes into play. It's supposed to be 3 servers. It's static server meshing. It's not dynamic server meshing, but it's still server meshing. I still think when it comes to Star Citizen and 4.0, I still think we have a long road ahead of us before we get server meshing and 4.0 coming out. As I said earlier, it's been March, April since they did a play test, and that was the 250 or 300. Which ran pretty smoothly, but the one they did before that, where they had, I think it was 400 and 800, they had a lot of problems, and a handful of people had really good time with it, and then a lot of people had a really bad time with it. So, and I haven't heard them talk about another playtest since then. So, something is telling me that we are still quite a ways off from 4.0 and server meshing, but we'll see. We'll see.
Cycles and all of that. There is a plan, however, to ship some of that stuff post-launch. That is definitely...
And I'll say it again, server meshing day one 0 hour, trying to download that and get into the game. Be prepared for 318 or worse type issues, and I would expect that we don't have a bunch in a stable condition for a few months after launch. So, you know, I probably am going to play 3.24 and then step away completely from Star Citizen and focus on a few other games as far as playing. I'm still going to cover Star Citizen as an outsider, but I don't see it coming out and releasing very well. So but that's just me.
Down the alley, like you raid a base to turn off anti-aircraft missiles to gain access to certain resources that you need. That's something in the plans for the future that's concretely on the table. So if it wasn't already clear beyond the survival crafting elements of the game, yes, like there will be PvE activities in things like the enemy camps and going into the Echo Labs. But the main driving factor in this game, especially come the end game and the deep desert, it's that PvP conflict. So I did have a few questions about PvP itself. I asked about that PvE scenario that he mentioned, okay? So your guild is out in the deep desert, you're harvesting spice together, and then all of a sudden it turns into PvP when another guild shows up. So then my follow-up question was, so another guild shows up.
Speaking of 40K, I tried to find some 40K lore to share with you because I don't know much about it, and there's some people in here that don't know much about it. And I was hoping to find a 40K lore video that we could watch together. I cannot find a 40K lore video that is less than an hour long. And the ones that are less than an hour long are talking about bits of lore that I don't know about because I don't know the lore. So I want to watch lore with you guys, but I don't want to watch an hour to 2 hour to 3 hour. And some of them I found are 4 hours long. I can't do that, man. I can't do it.
What is that process like? And can 6 other guilds show up? His answer was yes. The desert is fully open PvP. However many players decide to go to a single location, that is the number of players that you're gonna see. However, he did add, you might hit a technical cap. It depends on our server optimization for launch, just to be clear. So I don't know how many players are going to be per server. Like we gave some numbers, like we'll have a minimum of 40 people in the Haga Basin. We should have more than that in the deep desert per server instance. And the server instances are chained together, sort of like server meshing that you've seen a lot of games talking about lately. The deep desert though is one seamless set of servers chained together, which means it supports a lot more players. If 6 guilds show up and they're 100 players each, I'm not sure we can support 600 people in 1 square kilometer. That might not work. So with him saying that, I responded by asking, how would this be surfaced to players, right? So if like 6 guilds all showed up at a
so there is no space travel. You are completely planet locked to this game, but I'm sure you are going to have to haul spice from point A to point B to, you know, from one spot to the refinement to the sell-off. So I'd like that. Yes, I would really want to try Delta Force.
Single area for
I'm very interested in the extraction portion of it. I mean, the multiplayer does look cool, but I'm very interested in the extraction portion of it.
To fight over the spice blow. Do some portion of them get instanced out of that area? Are they going to be phased and not see each other? But his answer was interesting. He said no. What'll likely happen is as we grow closer to a soft cap, there will be some natural things that occur. For example, sandstorms will come in to drive players away from the area. However, if people insist we're just going to throw up a hard barrier, we have this lore police force in place that can drop hard barriers around specific areas. So basically, this is pretty much what's going to happen whenever Asmongold decides to go anywhere in the deep desert.
It's only a fail if it doesn't work. Right now, Star Citizen server meshing is a fail. So, you know, we'll see.
They're probably going to be having these police forces dropping these barriers to cordon people off, right? What's interesting here, though, is learning that they actually do intend for the deep desert to be fully open uninstanced, and no phasing. They're using this server meshing technology to make it so that if you and 100 other people all decide to go to a single area, this say one spice blow or one enemy base that's out in the desert, you should all see each other at that area at the same time, up until they hit this server issues with player caps within that square kilometer region. And at that point, they're going to start throwing in sandstorms to force people out, or if that doesn't work, dropping those police barriers if things get even crazier. But there is no phasing. There are no 100 different instances of one particular area. If you and 100 or 200 people all want to go to one spot and stand on one grain of sand, you'll be able to do it up until the server threshold issues, and then they're going to do things to mitigate that. But there's no phasing. There's not going to be, I'm standing on this grain of sand and my friend is standing on that grain of sand, but we don't see each other because we're in different phases. That is not something they're going to do, which is really, really interesting. I'm really interested to see how this plays out and if it isn't just a total laggy mess, right? He added as well, though, that the deep desert is quite massive. He said it's like 9 times the size of Haga Basin, which, mind you, he said Haga Basin was larger than their other game, Conan Exiles, and that's a pretty big game. It is huge. That's the other side of it. It's what you see in the movies. It's a big expanse of sand and only a few rock islands. There's definitely meeting points on those islands, but it is 15 minutes to fly across. It takes quite a while to get from one end to another. But back to the PvE and PvP discussion, he continued, the point is that if you're a smaller guild and you don't want to fight people for spice, you can still be out there doing that PvE harvesting and sort of just run away. The idea is that the space works to the advantage of the players, and it also means that people who don't really like PvP, which he said is a lot of people, and he's well aware of that, it means that if you feel like it, you can dip your toe into this activity and be on your ornithopter and fly away. If you see 6 guilds coming towards you, you'll be able to get away. You'll have those sight lines. He then added that they really want to avoid the typical issue that open world PvP survival games have. He said, in survival games, what I see with PvP, just take Conan Exiles for example, is it's never 10 versus 10. It's always like 8 versus 1, or like 30 people come over a hill and there's 5 guys harvesting alone, and then those 30 people just charge. And they have a great time, but the 5 people don't. We're trying to make it so that the 5 people feel like it's worth their time to get out of there if they want to. They can just pick up and get away if necessary. But yes, when it comes to the deep desert, it is just full-on PvP 100% of the time. It's going to turn into Zergfest, but they're going to have systems in place to try to mitigate too many people being too overwhelming on the servers in one particular location using that server meshing technology that they have. But yeah, it is the case that, like, if you're trying to harvest spice and 6, 7, 8 other guilds show up to push you out of there, they'll be able to push you out of there. You could choose to say, but it's probably not going to go too well for you. And there are things like vehicle destruction. There isn't full corpse looting, but there is things like resource loss. So all of this stuff you're going to have to keep in consideration. Now, a lot of that was really focused on the PvP in the deep desert, but there is also limited PvP that will be happening in the Haga Basin as well. He said it's primarily happening around the crash ships that were mentioned earlier. So the way this will work is you will see ships falling from the sky. It'll happen in real time, and then players will run to those areas because there are valuable resources to collect. However, within that proximity around the ship in that immediate area, it is full-on PvP, so you'll have to keep your head on the swivel if you're going in and trying to grab resources and then run away. Also, he mentioned that some select faction bases, those like enemy camps, those can be PvP flagged as well. Not all of them, but there will be a select few. Now, another interesting mechanic in this game that I was curious about are those massive storms that reset the play space, specifically the deep desert. So I asked about that. So the deep desert, he said, has the Coriolis storm that happens every week. It wipes everything, absolutely everything, and changes the landscape. So what was there last week will be different this week. The sand comes in, it wipes everything, and then there's all of a sudden a new ecology lab that you hadn't seen before, or a new shipwreck. There's also new islands, and they're in different places. Cool. So you need to go in, you need to reestablish your logistics and resurvey the area to figure out where things are. In the deep desert, you'll get things like items that are only there for that week, and you don't know when they're going to show up next. One specific Eagle Lab might only be there once every 2 months. And for that week, you can go there to get this schematic to craft a unique rifle, and you're the only person that can craft it because you're the only person who found that schematic at that eco lab. And then once it goes away the next week, all of a sudden you could have the super rare resource that no one could get a new one of, and you could sell it on the auction house. You could craft the item and sell it. You'll have a lot of options, or you can just craft it and make it for yourself and your mates. And his mentioning of these unique schematics also had me curious about how gearing works in the game and what the focus is going to be. So I asked him if the main gear hunt is focused on the schematics that you then craft, or am I going to be also finding rifles in the desert? He said, yeah, definitely. It's definitely more about schematics. In WoW, you roll for the loot itself, right? Well, in our game, you get the schematic and then you have to craft it, but that also adds value to you in a few ways because you can then sell it in the auction house. We don't have any sort of bind on pickup. And because this is a survival crafting game, I asked if they're going to have some of what I consider the more important quality of life features in this genre. Specifically, will they have crafting from storage? Will they have auto sort? Will they have deposit similar items when moving from your inventory to chest? And he said yes to all three of those. Thank you so much. Now, the final thing I asked him was to basically walk us through what are considered their dungeons, what they have called their dungeons, which are these eco labs. They're going to be scattered all around the environment. They're going to have like different settings and themings and locations. And he made it clear to me when talking about this that it isn't like a traditional MMO dungeon, like these 5 players instance things with really challenging boss fights with tons of different phases at the end, but rather it's much more akin to like a Bethesda dungeon. Think sort of along the lines of Fallout or Skyrim or even Starfield. These will be instance locations with set themings and backstories that you discover as you explore them. So you'll be going through these corridors, you'll come across small groups of enemies, but more so there will be flavor text and lore bits like leftover audio logs or something that you'll interact with, and will tell you a bit of story about the area. And then as you progress, you find more audio logs, you find more clues about what happened in this region, why it's abandoned, what was going on here, and eventually you might have a boss at the end, but it's going to be, instead of like a normal enemy that might take like 5 seconds to take out, it might take like 15 seconds to take out the more souped up version at the end. But yeah, the way he was describing it about exploring and uncovering lore about that particular area and its history and its previous inhabitants or what they were doing there, you discover more and more as you progress. It really, as he was sharing it with me, it reminded me so much of like going through a cavern in Skyrim or a location in a Fallout game or in Starfield. It sounded very, very reminiscent of it. In fact, he said himself as they're developing it, something like Fallout's vaults is sort of what they had in their mind. And it sounded actually pretty neat. Now, I personally, I would love more traditional like group focus.
I miss Fallout. I haven't played. I played Fallout 1, 2, 3, 4, and I played a little bit of New Vegas, but I didn't play much. I don't know what happened. But it got set aside for either another game or life event of some sort. But I played like 20, 30 hours into it, and then I never picked it back up. Not because it was a bad game. I just did. I mean, I had a hard time getting into it, but I just never finished it. I still have it on my PlayStation 3. I think I have it. No, I have it on PlayStation 4. I think it was a remaster. Maybe, I don't remember, but I have it on my PlayStation.
Dungeons with hard bosses and things like that for the loot hunt. But I think these echo labs that they have in the game also sound interesting for what they are. And again, I really think ultimately it's important to keep in mind, it's pretty clear this is first and foremost a survival crafting building game and exploration with a big focus on PvP at the end and some PvE. But the PvE group stuff, the things like raids or the group instance dungeons, that's not really a main focus, at least not as of yet. Maybe that changes a bit in the future. But that just about does it for my interview with Joel. All in all, I thought it was a productive chat. I learned a lot of new things about the game, and I have now a much better picture of what it's going to be like to play. Unfortunately, he didn't give me any insider tips as to when we can play test the game, so I'm just going to continue hoping it's sometime soon. I do know that they are doing testing right now currently, but it's like strictly NDA, really small scale. I think you can register for a chance to be invited. But in terms of like larger stuff, like open beta weekends, I have no idea. I would love to get my hands on the game like this fall or winter or something, but we will see. I'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, I mean, I think Dune Awakening is sounding pretty good. I hope it turns out well. As a fan of survival crafting games, all
right, that was Force Gaming, and he was talking about Dune there. I'm interested, borderline very excited. I hope it's a good game. I'm not pre-ordering. I'm not buying day one. I'll wait a few days, couple of weeks, and see what happens with it as it comes out and what the gameplay is like. I don't want to I don't want to set myself up for misery. You know, and I'm not going to do another early access. You want to know why I'm not going to do another early access? I'll show you why right here. Come on. All right. So as you can tell, I'm on Steam charts. Now I'm going to type in Gray Zone Warfare. What? Oh, I spelled it wrong. There we go. I accidentally hit Z when I was hitting the Y. This is awful. And you can come back here in a couple of hours and click on this and it'll be even lower. It's not going much higher than 1,200 players. Last night, when I got home from work, me and Grumpy were talking about this, and it was 444 people. So let me zoom in for that. For effect, I am not getting involved in another early access. This is an early access game. I really hoped it was going to do well. It had tons of hype. The graphics engine looked fantastic. The premise looked awesome. The fact that it was a Tarkov extraction looter shooter, fantastic. I really wanted this to do well. And then I got the early access and found out it was in really bad shape. The gameplay, for the most part, is the premise of the gameplay is really good, but the actual delivery of it, terrible. The optimization, awful. The AI, it's way too overpowered. There's no loot. I mean, there's like a half a dozen guns, but in all honesty, if you're not using a AR M4 platform, then there's really no point. I mean, those are the guns that get all the love. As I said, no loot. The AI tracks you through walls, buildings, through the jungle. You know, I know in real life suppressors or silencers, whatever you want to call them, you know, they only bring down the decibel level from, I forget what a gunshot is, but it's between 90 and 120 decibels. It's still loud. People are still going to know that you're shooting. But my problem is when I have a suppressor on and I pull the trigger on a guy that is 350 meters away. Why is the guy, so if it's 350 meters from me to him and I shoot him, why is the guy all the way on the other side of town now know where I'm at, exactly where I'm at, and can run up on me and track me through the bushes, through the walls, through buildings, and be able to precisely shoot me while I can't see him at all? Like, it makes no sense. That's a big problem. Helicopters, big problem. They don't have enough helicopters for all the people that are playing the game. You have 3 factions on 3 different locations. Each faction gets can have up to 16 players, and each faction only gets 4 helicopters. So they assumed that everybody would be playing in groups of 4, but you know, you throw 2 or 3 or 4 guys that are solo, they're trying to take helicopters. The 3 groups of 4 are trying to take helicopters, and there's not enough helicopters. So this right here, I'm sure you're not going to run into many helicopter problems anymore, because there ain't nobody playing this. You know, and I feel bad because they sold almost 1 million copies in a week and a half. And I mean, that's what, 0.1 percentage point of those copies being played right now. It's terrible. And the real problem with this game, right? Look, 71,000, 31 minutes ago, 1169, you know, 30 days ago, it was 2,000, 4,000 back in July. The real sad thing about this is this game came out April 29th, 30th, 31st, somewhere around there, right? And it's had a few hot fixes, I think 5 hot fixes. No patch. No patch. No patch that fixes anything. No patch that changes anything. You know, what rounds are you shooting? Regardless, the bullet is reaching supersonic unless it's subsonic. You're right. You're right. But once again, a guy should not be able to hear. And excuse me, he might hear it, but he can't pinpoint. He shouldn't be able to pinpoint exactly where I am. Even if I shoot and move, they still know where I'm at. They shouldn't be able to pinpoint exactly where I am after I've shot and moved from 1,000 meters away. Like, you'll know that a gunshot went off, but you shouldn't be able to know where I am immediately. Like, even in real life, in thick jungle, if somebody pulls the trigger and you're 1,000 meters away, you're going to know in what general direction it came from, but you're not going to know, oh, he's all the way over there on the other side. He shot there, but he moved over there. He's behind 2 cars and a wall. I'm going to start shooting at him when I get to about 100 meters. Like that. Yeah. Yeah, same here, Canop. Same here. But yeah, hopefully they get this fixed. Maybe people will come back, but as of right now, Gray Zone, pretty much dead game. And I don't see it coming back. Especially when you got Arena Breakout, Black Hawks Ops, I think it's called, Tarkov, obviously, and yeah, I don't see it making a comeback. It's too little, too late now. It's too little, too late, unfortunately. So we're gonna watch one more, and then I am gonna go eat some lunch and get back to work on. Well, no, I'm gonna eat lunch, take a nap, and then get back to working on that video that I showed you guys earlier, that I previewed. So we are gonna watch. I want to listen to somebody else go on a Star Citizen rant for a little bit.
Hello there. So I'm gonna be up front.
Oh, wait. How dare I? This is PC 101. Misleading. I go on a rant. As I said, I want to hear somebody else go on a Star Citizen rant for a little bit, and not just me.
Hello there. So I'm going to be up front with you guys. This is probably going to be an incredibly negative video, very salty. I'm going to be channeling my angry Scotsman in this video.
He's a Scotsman.
I kind of feel like
Excellent.
I have to get this off my chest because it's really been irritating me during the whole Evocati and the PTU one wave. And there was a thing that happened about a week or two ago which really irritated me, which we'll get into. And then there was a tweet today from Dev responding to a video on Twitter that Expat Brett did. And that's kind of triggered me to make this video because I'm kind of really peed off. So a little feedback.
Okay, look, I don't know Expat Brat. Here's my thing. You named yourself Expat Brat. Doesn't that mean legal immigration brat? Because I wasn't sure what an expat was until I looked it up. Basically, you just immigrated from your native country to another country. That's all it is. I don't understand why we decided to come up with a term called an expatriate to be like, I moved from my country to another country. Like, you're an immigrant, a legal immigrant, but you're an immigrant, or you migrated, whatever you want to call it. Same thing. Expat. I just don't understand why we came up with that term for that. It's just weird to me. But anyways, I'll let PC 101 continue.
Being that I am very much suffering from a medical condition called loot goblinitis. If it ain't nailed down, I'm having it. It's like, I don't need any of the stuff in this loot box. I don't even need the loot box, but I'm still going to take it. So when they announced at CitizenCon that we'd be able to get persistent hangers and be able to decorate those hangers, I was super excited for that. I mean, other than the Jesus server meshing tech, this is definitely my top 3 things in Star Citizen I was looking forward to. And then once we got it in Evo, I was kind of disappointed that like the two things I saw right after CitizenCon, I said it straight after CitizenCon, and I've talked to people and mentioned it to other people, was the fact that you have two problems. You have the physics system does not allow you to stack objects on another object which is non-physical, which I mean, so it has its physics. So like stuff boxes you can push around. You start putting physical objects on top of other physical objects, that's a no-go. It's going to start freaking out. It can eventually set.
Yeah, so I that was something I never brought up, but when they first started talking about this stuff, I had a lot of issues with what was shown and how they described it was going to work. Most of what I brought up and talked about, not all, but most of what I brought up and talked about before this came out, and we saw it in PTU, all of it came true. Every damn bit of it came true. And you know, I don't want to be like, haha, I told you so, because I don't want it to be broken and busted and hurting. I don't mean like really hurting players, but hurting players' desire to play this game. That's what I mean. Like, I don't understand it. So, but the physical, the fact that we don't have actual physics in this game, which is why we get dancing ships and bodies that flop all over the place for hours on end, and many other situations where it involves an item because there is no physics within the game. There's many challenges that arise and many funny bugs that happen, but also bugs that can end up killing your gameplay experience. I mean, I don't mean like destroying the game for you, but killing your gameplay experience because you're not having fun because, you know, a piece of ship that was dancing around in front of you just suddenly fell over and hit you and killed you. So, yeah. Yeah, this is not the proper way to store explosive devices at all. They're supposed to be, I've always seen it in US military, and that's just, you know, from like Discovery Channel and History Channel, stuff like that. There's specific ways you're supposed to keep this in racks, and there's little tags on there saying that, you know, they're not armed. I mean, they're live, but they're not armed. This kind of scares me.
And stay, but it's very, very buggy, and as soon as you go above like 2-3 items on one another, that's just straight up a no-go. And then the other issue was going to be that I saw was your ship engines. If you ever went to SPK and you fly outside SPK, all the items outside blast around inside SPK, which is crazy, being it's supposed to be an airtight box. Or if you went down to a Crash Caterpillar site, when you're going into land, you can see all the little one SU, not the little boxes, fly all over the floor. So it's like, well, as soon as I come into land or take off from my hangar, isn't all my decorations just going to go flying around into the corner? I'm like, okay, well, I'm sure they will resolve those issues before we get it. And 9 months later, I think it's 9 months later, SCL put out this video, and I'm like, yo.
Yeah, we're just about 9 months later, and you know, I didn't know about I didn't think about the physics aspects of it, but this is unacceptable. In my opinion, this is unacceptable. CIG said, you know, all this stuff is supposed to come out in the next 12 months or so. And then after that, we get into March, 2 weeks before the 3.23 patch is supposed to come out. They release an ISC and say, guys, sorry, we can't do the hangars yet because it's not all the way polished, but you know, we removed them from the patch, but we're this close. You can go back and watch it. The guy goes, we're this close away. We just have a little bit of polishing left to do. I figured, I didn't figure anything. I watched the community try to figure it out. And they're all like, oh, you know, it'll probably be out in a month, maybe 6 weeks. Dude, that patch came out in March. We're 4 months out. And it don't work. It don't work. The missions don't work. You server error, your missions drop. People can't complete the hauling missions. People are having issues with boxes disappearing on them. This guy brought up a great point about physicalized items blowing around your hangar. Apparently they released a patch late last night. I got the alert for it when I woke up this morning. It's completely broken, apparently. I'm not going to try to sign on right now. I don't feel like torturing myself for you guys like that. It's ridiculous. And what's funny to me is they don't have this patch nailed down yet. It's moved to wave 2, which apparently that was what broke it. And yet we have these people saying, oh, September we'll have 4.0. Dude, how are we going to have 4.0 if this doesn't even work and it's not even out yet? August is halfway over. August, let me double check. It's August 16th. We are literally 15 days away from August ending and September starting. October, like October 14th or something like that, is CitizenCon. Do you really, really think 4.0 is coming out pre-CitizenCon? Because if you do, I think you need to check for like some head injuries or maybe CTE or maybe lack of oxygen getting to your brain, because there ain't no way. There ain't no way. Post-CitizenCon, maybe. But then you're up against, here's the other thing. Now, okay, let's talk about post-CitizenCon, all right? You have this tiny window between CitizenCon and IAE to get in 4.0. And if 4.0 is a shit show, you're going to lose out on the biggest event of the year outside of CitCon. You're going to miss out on the biggest event outside of CitCon and IAE. Do you really, really, really think they're going to release it in between CitCon and IAE? There's no way, because if it doesn't work, they miss out on tons of sales. So it'll have to be post IAE. Now, where does that put us into after 2 weeks of IAE? Late, or the very, very end of November? Now we're talking December. Once again, I don't think CIG is going to do what they did the last time with 318. 318 came out into Evo and then Wave 1 PTU. I believe it was Wave 1 PTU. Wave 1 PTU. I believe December 18th, and then they took off for 2 weeks and it turned to shit over Christmas break. I don't think they're going to do that again. I really don't. So you're left with 4.0 next year. Yeah, they're just trying to get that money, man. And the Polaris, to me, I don't see a use for it. But then again, I'm just a negative guy. I'm grumpy sewage runoff. I don't know anything about the game. I don't play the game. I've never played the game. I don't know what I'm talking about. All the above. Yes, it has been 12 years, and it's been 6 years since they announced Pyro, and it's going to be going on its 7th.
Oh, this is amazing. I love this. This is exactly what I want. But being that I've played Evo when they made this video, I know this is complete and utter BS. Like I said, you can't totally stack stuff on top of one another that's a physical item. You can't put stuff on table easily. They'll start rattling around and shaking. The more stuff you put on that table, the worse it's going to get. This feels incredibly misleading. Now, I know SEL ISC they want to advertise a feature, and they want to do it at the best case scenario, like the top of the range thing, but it kind of has this negative effect that you're setting expectations way up here when you're actually kind of delivering way down here, and you were never going to go up here. You were hoping that that's like the best case scenario, where this kind of feels misleading. This is like when you go to a fast food.
It's not kind of misleading. It is misleading. It's very misleading. And it's kind of, it's borderline bait and switch, honestly.
Kind of vending place.
Yeah.
And you look at the board and you go, oh, look at that burger. That's super nice. And then you get the burger and it's this like flat ass pancake thing that looks like somebody sat on. It feels so misleading. And I don't think it's like, it's obviously not negative. It's not maliciously misleading. They're showing best case scenario. So whenever I watch ISC, it's like, I always see stuff like this. I'm like, that's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. They're trying to put the best foot forward, but it still irritates me because you're selling. It's kind of like you're selling this, but you're not delivering this. And I think that's why I was so like.
This has been my complaint for forever. And I get called so many negative things, whether it's in a comment section or a DM on a Discord, or it doesn't matter. It's happened. And to me, I like, open your eyes, people. Like, it's okay to like the game. I like the game. It's okay to love the project. I don't love the project. I like the project. But you need to call out the bullshit when there's bullshit. And if you don't do it, look, man, this project's all on you guys. Like, I am refusing to give them any more money. I will not sub for early access to the PTU. I will not buy another ship. I'm not buying paints. I'm not buying subscriber gear. I'm not doing any of it. If I spend any money on this game, I will go to an eBay website and buy credits. That's what I will do. That is the only way I will spend money. Like, I don't know, guys. And to be honest, like, for all of those that, because I know people that want, I'm going to try to split this up tomorrow night into multiple videos. For those of you that come here and watch this and go, oh, well, these guys are being dicks and they're being in an echo chamber together, and they're just, you know, giving each other Dutch rudders so that they can shit on our game. No, we're not. We're criticizing the game because we want it to be better. We want the development to be better. We want Christ Roberts to be better. We want everything to be better. The problem is that when they do shit like this, and then you just kind of go, oh, it's an alpha. That's on you guys. And it's never going to change if you don't get out of the attitude of, it's just an alpha. No, fuck you. Start putting completed shit in the game, or don't put it in at all. I'm tired of the tier 0. I'm tired of the half-ass working stuff. Like, that's one of the reasons why I'm taking such a long break from this game. What is the point of playing a broken fucking game that nobody is playing right now? The player numbers show it. The servers show it. Jumping regions shows it. We're not just pulling this out of our ass. Like, and you guys have allowed it to get here. I sat here voicing my opinions. I sat here saying what I've been saying now for over a year and a half. This is on you guys. All you people that want to defend this to know, well, they're doing something nobody's ever done before. Well, yeah, okay, fine. That doesn't mean you can't complete shit and put it in the game completed. I understand certain things can't be done that way, but everything else, like basic FPS missions, should not be a problem. They should not be a problem. Having NPCs give you missions should not be a problem. Having inventory that actually works like inventory, I don't care if it's a paper doll system. Inventory systems have been around since the 80s, and you keep fucking it up. I don't understand how after 40 years of video game development, you can't even make a damn inventory system. And you expect me to think that you're going to make a flight system somehow better? Like, it boggles my mind. Games have had mini maps in them for 20 plus years. And the fact that it's year 12 of development, 5 years or 6 years worth of them having a alpha playable game, and they're just now adding a mini map. Come on, guys. Come on. That's really, that is, come on. Like, I don't know what to say anymore. And I'm sorry I'm getting riled up, but this guy's right. They do these ISCs. They show you what could be through their design, but then they don't actually deliver it. They just don't. Jim, what's up? You don't have to apologize for being late. Well, thank you.
Really annoyed when I saw it. Kind of really angered me when I saw this video, because it's like, I won this, and I always made this video, but I thought, no, I'm just gonna let it go, just get over it. It's only a game. And then I saw a tweet today, and it kind of really, well, I saw a couple hours ago, and this was that what the tweet was the catalyst to making this video, because it really. So basically, there was a tweet expat Brat did, which is basically she made a video that filled the ship with lots of seats, kind of turning it into like an airplane kind of thing, which is really cool. I like it. That's an interesting idea. It got quite a lot of views on it. But there was a dev who commented on it saying, you're welcome. And Ian is awesome. The fact that he fixed the fish tank. So the fish tank, you couldn't track to beam, but now you can track to beam. Unfortunately, the other 90% of hangar decoration stuff don't work. And he kind of commented that they don't have time to do it. But basically, Expat is pointing out that the stuff that you put down will just get blasted everywhere from the engines. Basically, that you can decorate your hangar.
Look at this. Look at this right here. Yeah, I was very well aware of this too. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to look into the best option would be to lock them in place, but we've got some ideas. This is what I'm talking about, guys. This is what I'm talking about. Like, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, here's this great idea. This is what we're going to do. We're going to implement it. And then the community or even, you know, anybody goes, hey, it doesn't work because of X thing, or this thing is not ready because of this. And they go, well, we didn't think about that. Push it live. Like, come on.
And as soon as you fly a ship off the pad, everything just gets blown away.
She did that?
And he kind of comments saying, yeah, I'm very much aware of this too. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to look into what the best option would be to lock them in place. But we have some ideas.
I forgot about that. You are immortal when you're in those seats. And also, I don't know if they fixed it or not. So the beanbag chairs, if somebody sits in the beanbag chair and you throw them out of a ship in high atmo above, like, say, Daymar, you can actually move Daymar and people will not be able to repair, rearm, refuel. Some of the doors won't work. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, but you can move the moon. And people that were in the middle of doing things on that moon, unless they were like low flying or, you know, whatever, it breaks everything. So give it a shot, guys. Give it a shot.
It's been 9 months since Citizen, and obviously prior to that,
9 months
you must have realized this was going to be an issue. You're not addressing it. You're just going to ship it out with the hangar decorations basically being a no-go. You're not going to really be able to decorate your hangar for the reasons I mentioned. Completely blunt, the devs at CIG are amazing, even the marketing department. So this is not a go at Ian. I just don't understand, like, from an upper point of management, how you think that's a good idea to just ship it out like that. I mean,
because okay, let's say even more people were mad about this than say what they're showing on Twitter or on Spectrum, right? Let's say even more people are mad. Let's take it up a notch, right? The whole community is mad. All 2.6 million people, because there's 5.1 million accounts, and CIG said 40 to 50% of them are alts. So all 2.6 million-ish people get really pissed off, and they all write Spectrum posts about how this is shit. You want to know how CIG solves it? Brand new, coming next IAE, X ship from X manufacturer. Buy now. That's how they solve it. You know, go back to when the Drake Ironclad was announced. CIG had only made 17% of the money from the year prior, right? Only 17%. And they announced the Ironclad, and the Ironclad essentially turned around the entire year for Star Citizen money-wise. So if I'm going to say this once again, the problem is not people like me. It's not people like Grumpy. It's not people like, God, I hate saying this. It's not people like Gem Reviews. It's not people like Asmongold or Pirate Software calling the game gross and nothing but a money grab, right? It's not our fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's not our fault. We warned you. We spent years trying to warn you. Well, I spent a year and a half-ish trying to warn you guys. Grumpy spent 3 years trying to warn you. Many people have come and gone expressing exactly what we've been expressing for years now. This was not an us problem. It's a you problem.
Hangar decoration, any decorations is a huge money maker. No, I say huge. I don't know. But the fact that like a mount in World of Warcraft made more money than the whole of StarCraft 2 shows how much people like ship decorations and paints and skins. Like making
You should see the Fallout community when Fallout 4 came out, and they were building bases and then cluttering them to make them look like they were lived in. there was some really cool stuff that came out during that, and I was kind of hoping. I mean, I'm not super into that, but I was kind of hoping I'd see some of that in the Star Citizen hangars, but it's not. It can't happen, obviously.
Items that you can decorate is so much less resource consuming from a company point than building this whole ship. You could pump all this stuff, all these decoration stuff you could make from scratch and sell on the website faster than you can make one ship. So how are you not like, how is that not a priority to get the hangar stuff, decoration stuff, the ability to decorate?
Laser colors, afterburner colors, engine colors. You want to make a lot of money? Add those into the game. And it wouldn't take much. People would buy them up in gobs, put them on there for like $5 a pop, you know, purple, pink, blue, red, orange, green. Throw those up on there for different thruster colors and or afterburner colors. People will buy the shit out of them. They will make more money off of that with less time consumed than trying to build a ship. And I guarantee you they would make an entire quarter's worth of money in a single weekend off of that. Me too, Cosmic. Me too.
Create your hangar, lock down so that you can sell stuff.
I don't know,
money.
Jim.
Anyway, I kind of want to let it there. I'm kind of getting really ranting. Right, Future PC here. I realized I didn't give my suggestion on how I would fix it. So I'm adding this after I've edited the video. So how I would do it, basically, see this is a cargo grid. This is one SU box. When you put the box on the grid, it snaps. I don't like the idea of turning the whole hangar into a cargo grid for two reasons. A, you can either have an item that way or that way, 90 degrees. You can't have an item 45 degrees. It just won't lock. It'll just immediately snap to 90 degrees. Kind of limits your options. Locking it to the cargo grid is great. Ship engines can't move the box. You can't push the box. You're gonna have no weird physics stuff. But if you went to put another item, say on top of it,
Hammer Berlin,
that's not going to lock to no grid. The box isn't a cargo grid,
here,
so
Hammer.
the item on top's still physical, and it's still going to maybe vibrate and fall off and do weird physics stuff. So that's not the greatest of solutions. So I don't like the item. I've heard people use that suggestion, but then you're going to have to turn every single item into its own cargo grid, so you could lock an item on top of another item, like say this is a table, this is a plant pot, etc. Don't like that idea. I like my idea, because my idea is better. This tool here, it pretty much sums it up. It's a tool that can track to beam and lock items. Obviously, you need some sort of restrictions, so like it do some kind of detection to see if it's like a certain distance from an object below it. So you're not going to just have stuff floating in the middle of your hangar.
Okay.
So it just wouldn't let you say, you go, okay, that's fine, although that's probably extreme. But anyway, another restriction: only the owner of the hangar can use the tool in their hangar. I couldn't go over to somebody else's hangar and start using the tool, because then you could just grief them and like block. Say this is their hangar door.
It goes back to reinventing the wheel.
Start blocking their door and locking it. I guess they could move it, but yeah, that's bad. And also, you cannot use it outside of the hangar. So this tractor beam locking tool can only be used by the owner in their own hangar. That's the only place they can use it. Because we know that CIG uses assets in the game to dress their scenes. We've seen the loot boxes. You ran up to a loot box, went to loot it, and realized, oh nope, it's not actually a loot box. But they've obviously grabbed the asset, put it there, and locked it in place, so it's no longer physical. Like having items locked is just better for your game, because having hundreds of items in your hangar that are physical, it's got to put strain on your game and the server, because it's got to do all those physics calculations and whatnot. Anyway, let's get back to the original video. I just wanted to give my suggestion.
Yeah, you just
want to let it go.
I think that's what he's trying to. I think this is him going in a longer workaround of basically saying he wants to just make items locked and with the ability to move them if you want, but it doesn't need to be a specialized grid system designed just for hangars. That's more time, more wasted money, and does nobody any good. Like, just make the items lock in place. You can't push them, the ship can't push them, etc. You don't need a cargo grid for that.
I was very passionate about this feature. It irritates the hell out of me that it feels very second thought kind of thing. Anyway, guys, rant over. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, that was PC 101. Going on a little hanger rant. I liked him, so I'm gonna like it. And yeah, I liked it. It was good. It was good. It was very, very good. All right. I unfortunately need to get going. I'm hungry. I need to eat. I need to take a nap, and I got some other stuff I need to work on tonight. I stayed up. I got to transition into night shift on Monday, so I'm trying to stay up as late as I could last night and tonight. So yeah, I made it till about 3 last night, and then just dropped, and then I was up at 7:30. So yeah, I'm tired. So thank you guys for joining me on this lovely Friday. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all those likes, the follows, the subs, and anything else you may have clicked on if I didn't notice it. What do you call it? Stream Elements has been acting wacky as of late. I will be putting out a video tomorrow or Sunday, and also tomorrow and Sunday. I'm not sure what I'm going to play, but I think we're going to head back into Elite Dangerous and No Man's Sky. I also have a special uniform that somebody bought me that I will be wearing once I get back into a starship. So, yeah, you guys have a wonderful is it evening? No, it's not evening. You guys have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, because I know Mason lives across the world, and have a great day. I'll see you guys in the next one. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Peace.